All right, so I think the stream thinking about things ready to go though. So hello everybody, Mega ZardX here. Back at it again to give you all another very exciting podcast episode. That being my ZardCast episode 101. Oh shoot. All right, first off, we gotta get a little bit of the quick news out the way though. Yes, we were not here for the what should have been the last episode a couple of weeks ago, but me and Steven were looking at the list of topics, and there was like it was a really slow, dry week for news, at least a couple of weeks ago. So we are like, hey, we might as well just go ahead and put that episode off, and we'll just skip that one episode, and just basically do it in another 2 weeks' time, though. So here we are right now because now we got a little bit too much news to talk about, though, because I think this is the first time ever have we ever gotten a Nintendo Direct to release in less than a span of a week, less than 7 days, 6 days to be precise. We're having another one. So that's going to be the two major talking points for tonight is we got to discuss everything that was announced in the first Nintendo Switch 1 Direct and give our predictions for what will be a Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. On top of like we got some updated news and stuff for like the Zelda movie and stuff. I want to talk about a little bit of the Analog 3D and stuff and then just a couple other things here and there though. But Steven, how's it going, man?
It's going good.
Had a solid week. Hadn't been too crazy for you or anything like that.
I've mostly just been trying to get through the week as fast as possible. I want to get to this goddamn Switch 2 Direct. I'm so curious. I'm so excited.
Oh man, I hear you on that one though. I've been in kind of a little bit of cruise control. It hasn't been too terribly bad for me though. But now that we're on the cusp of rolling from like Sunday night when we're recording this or airing it live to rolling into Monday, which then will be roughly about 2 days away. Oh man, yeah. No, that the hype is slowly building. I don't know. I've been here long enough to where it's like hype is cool and all, but it's like if you overhype too long way before, you just kind of get burned out. So I like to do it all like almost at the last second though. But it's really cool regardless though. Alrighty, well, we might as well not go ahead and dilly dally because shoot, I know the whole second half of this podcast is gonna be literally predictions for the Switch 2
Yeah.
stuff. So we got a lot to go through and probably not enough time. So let's go ahead and get this show on the road though. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into that pop culture segment. Alrighty, so I have to mention a little bit of info on this one, and we'll circle back around into it a little later on in the show, though. But Nintendo released a new app called Nintendo Today, and that was where they managed to break out the news that yes, finally managed to get a release date for the latest Legend of Zelda movie, though. More on the Nintendo Today app a little later on in the show, though. But we actually got the date for this thing. It's supposed to release on November 4th. Oh, wait, no, 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 no. Oh, good gracious. I was about to mess that up. No, it's shooting they're gonna start recording it November 4th of this year though. But it's scheduled to come out on April 7th of 2026 though. And we all know
Wait,
that
where
it
are you
was
getting this?
um honestly, it was from it was the Nintendo Today app had the release date thing up on it.
It was March of 2027. April of 2026 is the Mario movie too.
Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, shoot. No, 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 no. Take that back. Good gracious.
Yeah.
No. Oh, November 4th to April 7th. That's their shooting recording dates. My bad. Okay. Say the date again, Steven. Good gracious, sakes alive. I'm looking at too many things at
Mar-
one
all right,
time.
you're fine. March 27th, 2027 is when the Zelda movie will premiere.
No, no, no. Now I got the picture in front of me. You said March 27th. It's March 26th.
Okay, fine. Yeah, March 26th.
We were all over the
Close
place.
enough.
Good gracious, sakes
Close
alive.
close enough. I was going off of memory. I was at least I had the year right. I had more than you.
No, no, no. I said the year right too. Well, no, never mind. I said
You said
2026. Never mind.
2026.
All righty. All right. But yeah, so it's going to be coming out in 2027 though. So we basically have to wait almost a couple whole years for this thing to drop out though. But we do have a movie description to go off of now because at first we just knew that it was just a Zelda movie that Miyamoto has just came out and announced. We know that they're partnering with Sony to make this movie and such. and we know it's a live action. It's not animated like the Mario movie is, or what will be the Mario movie 2, though. But in this movie description, it is as follows: it's a live action adaptation of the video game franchise Legend of Zelda. Follows Link, a young warrior destined to protect the magical kingdom of Hyrule from the forces of darkness. The land is under threat from Ganon, not Ganondorf, but Ganon, a ruthless warlord who seeks the Triforce, an ancient relic to grant limitless power. To stop him, Link must embark on a perilous journey, battling monstrous creatures, exploring treacherous dungeons. They make a little tab um or making the tie with the dungeons and stuff, and solving intricate puzzles to uncover sacred artifacts that can aid him in his quest. I don't think that's too
See,
far off of the mark of what we were all kind of expecting, right?
unlocking sacred artifacts makes me think, obviously it could be the Master Sword. It also makes me think of like was it silver arrows from either Link to the Past or Zelda 1, which you need to defeat Ganon. I think it's Link to the Past. You need like those specific arrows to defeat Ganon. Same for Ocarina of Time, the light arrows. Um, who knows? That's at least it sounds like Zelda. It's better than like some of the other video game movies we've gotten recently. That Monster Hunter movie really sours my
Oh, no.
taste on video
Oh,
game
I can't
movies.
believe you sat down and watched that sucker. I could tell
I
that that
did.
mess wasn't going to
It
be that good.
it looks visually amazing, but it's not a good movie.
Hmm.
Either way, it being live action by far is the thing that worries me the most. The casting could make or break this goddamn movie. So many people are saying Tom Holland is Link. I swear to God, I will
No,
not listen to
no,
it.
we ain't doing that mess. No, put the Rock down as Ganondorf, and I'll be okay with it. I know some people probably wouldn't, but I'll be okay with that. That's the only prediction I'm throwing out there.
Yeah, but here's the
It's
issue.
gonna be so weird having someone play as Link and having them not talk. That's what we
I
got to figure out right here.
They're not gonna make The Rock Ganondorf because The Rock has like a thing in his contract where he can't lose a fight too often.
What?
Yeah, did you not know that? That's a thing that he has alongside like Jason Statham and some other actors, where in
It's
his
like a personal
contract,
contract. Like he
yes,
just
in his
doesn't want to lose.
yeah, in his
Oh,
contract for a bunch of movies, there's like a certain amount, like they calculate exactly how much he loses and like allocate it to certain amount of points. No, I'm not joking, by the way.
that's
He actually
wild.
they calculate how often he loses, and he's like, no, he doesn't want to be seen as like weak. I guess I don't know. It's some kind of weird masculinity thing. I bet. Either
Well,
way, that's a real thing. That's why Black Adam was like a spin-off movie and they didn't make him like a villain to Shazam like he usually is in DC.
okay.
It's I
Regardless,
don't
though,
know.
he can bend the rule and make an exception up in this one, though.
I would hope so. It would be kind of funny, honestly. Like I wouldn't really have a problem with Dwayne Johnson as Ganondorf. Like I think when he does acting, when he does good acting, he does good acting. I just see him and his voice and everything. I see him more as like a Goron.
Hmm.
He gives me Goron vibes. He gives me Darunia vibes.
I guess I don't know. But I would say at least for the most part, this isn't like anything too wild from the plot points that we're kind of expecting within this movie. Because I was thinking that this movie will be somewhat pretty grounded, kind of like how the Mario movie was, where I feel like most of the plot points, kind of like how they, what was it, the first Mario movie, it pulled a lot of inspiration from like NES Mario or Mario
Yeah.
64. I think the same thing will apply with the Zelda movie, where they'll pull a lot of stuff out of Ocarina of Time and probably some stuff from Link to the Past and the original NES Zelda, which I know that one's kind of pretty open to interpretation or
Well,
whatever. But kind of the combination of those three is like what I'm expecting them to pull a lot of the plot points out of.
yeah, and I'm honestly gonna make this call now. I think the movie's gonna be very, very like independent from like Breath of the Wild. I think Breath of the Wild just plays things so differently compared to the norms of Zelda in the public eye that they're just gonna want to go for something safe. They're gonna go for like an adaptation of Ocarina of Time. And the cool thing about Zelda is if they want to do like a sequel, they could just do a different Link during a different time. Like Twilight Princess is like the sequel to Ocarina of Time as like in a narrative way. who knows what they're gonna do? I don't think they're gonna have, as much as I want to say they're gonna do Ocarina of Time, I don't think they're gonna have time travel in this movie. So I
You
think
know
it's just
what?
gonna have the vibes.
I, I
I think it's gonna have the general vibes of like Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, without the plot points.
You know what? I would not put it past them if they pull a little time element because I do have myself a good friend I know from college. We still chat back and forth though. He really likes everything within the movie industry. Like like there's the gaming sphere, there's the movie industry, Hollywood and all of that stuff though. He keeps up with a lot of different stuff, a lot more with the actors and stuff than probably what I ever would personally do. Because I feel like at some point you do too much digging, you kind of get spoiled if you know how to put two and two together. But there's somebody that he likes to follow, which I think he's actually kind of known within like the Hollywood industry or whatever though. I forgot the name of the name of the dude or whatever though, but apparently he throwing this out there. So it's apparently in the rumor mill thing, but it most of the stuff that this dude says apparently gets kind of close to the money though. But apparently this Legend of Zelda movie could be the first of what would be a set of a trilogy. Which, when you think about it, it's like a trilogy with Zelda, three Triforce. It makes perfect sense. So I'm just gonna go ahead and throw that out there, and I'm just saying, hey, if it does well enough, at least with the first one, they might have plans to kind of treat this as a trilogy series. Kind of
We'll
something
see.
I wouldn't say nothing like a part one, part two, part three, but something kind of in the similar avenue of like, like the Lord of the Rings series, like that's a trilogy. Each one of them are like, separate things, but you can put them all together to make one big thing. I'm thinking
Yeah.
something on the lines of that. It could be possible.
Well, it's gonna be very complicated because Mario, like a Mario movie. That movie, it's an animated movie. It can appeal to family demographics a lot easier. Like, that's a movie you could go take a family to see. This movie is probably going to be aimed towards a slightly older audience, if I had to make a guess. Which makes me think they are going to rely on like
Yeah.
celebrity casting or this or that. They're going to rely on like some kind of hook to get people to see it. Because Sony, this movie's being produced by Sony. Sony has had a lot of bombs recently. Like, I think Venom 3 was the closest thing to a success they had. And then Craven bombed, Madam Web bombed. I can't think of anything else they've had that's really been doing all that good. And
Mhm.
I don't know, Sony being behind it is the main thing that worries me cuz Nintendo proved with the Mario movie with their oversight on everything like things work out pretty well. Like the Mario movie definitely feels like a movie celebrating Mario. So like if the Zelda movie has like the iconic music and the has the music, has the dungeons, has the enemies, and the CGI isn't that bad because come on, this is a live action movie, but it's definitely gonna be like a lot of CGI for those like monsters and the bosses and this and that. Whatever they decide to put in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like most people, this movie's gonna gravitate to more like that teenage audience, 13 plus. Yes, you can get some kids from like the 10 or 12. You probably will rarely get anything that'll be much younger than that. Because at that point, when you're looking at this Legend of Zelda movie, it could give you some similar vibes. Maybe something closer to a Lord of the Rings or any your fantasy like genre stuff where it's like like a medieval times where you always got these dudes out here fighting with swords and stuff like that. Once you kind of get into that realm, you do start tapping into that older audiences and stuff like that. Like I love those kind of shows. Like I love the heck out of the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit series and stuff like that though. So obviously with it obviously being a Zelda movie and stuff like that was already going to intrigue me on top of some of the things that they can kind of pull inspiration from in this movie though. So at least we got some confirm a little more something to go off of. I expect maybe we'll hear something about casting officially. Maybe at the earliest will be like
And
at the end of this year or something like that at
yeah,
the
we'll,
earliest.
we'll probably get a September direct that gives casting news.
Which honestly, if it's as funny as that Mario casting though, I was dying laughing when they
I don't
were
know.
giving all of those announcements to Jack Black,
I, I,
Chris Pratt.
I don't know. I feel like Zelda is pretty easy casting. Just get any white woman.
Mm,
Like
you better watch what you're saying right there, Steven. You
what?
can't just get any person though. to play
Well,
this
I
thing
don't
though.
know.
Especially if I
Knowing
I don't know.
Hollywood, this
I
is
don't I don't know who would be Zelda though, but like
like
mm.
I don't know. There's I've seen some people saying make Tom Holland Link and then make Zelda Zendaya, which is
Oh
fucking stupid.
gosh,
They
no,
better
please no, please no. We can't do this. We can't do this. Oh
listen.
man.
All I don't know. Like there's a lot of choices that people are saying. Like I don't know. It really depends. Like if they plan on doing a lot with Zelda. If Zelda's herself is gonna be like a damsel in distress, then it doesn't really matter that much. Or if they're gonna give her like a little more agency, give her a bigger role, then of course that's a major factor in that. I was kind of looking while we're here. I was looking at like what a lot of people are expecting for the fan casting. Seeing a lot of people saying like Idris Elba as Ganondorf. He
Mm,
plays Knuckles and a bunch of other stuff.
kinda, I don't
I
know.
think
It's
I've
always
seen.
weird when you comparing it when people do like just only voice work, and then you gotta actually see the person in the
Yeah,
live action. So I don't know.
I don't know. Zelda's like a very generic like character, really. Like I don't know. They haven't really done much with Zelda up until recently. Breath of the Wild, Skyward Sword, like those are the ones that really do something with Zelda. So maybe they'll go back to like Skyward Sword. They'll make like Link childhood friends with Zelda or something, and that's his agency. That's why he's trying to save her. Besides just saving the world.
I got you. Well, I
Who
mean,
knows? I'm I'm excited for the movie, but like I'm gonna be wary. I'm waiting until we actually see something about this.
oh yeah, no. And in terms of like an actual trailer, it wouldn't be until like, gosh, it'll be this time next year at the earliest. It'll be a tease of all teases, really. It'll be nothing super major until like what, maybe June
Yeah,
of 2026 at that point. Then we might see something substantial, but yeah, that's all I'm really expecting.
I just hope Tingle is in it.
Oh gosh, no, please no, please no. Don't put that man up in there.
I want
No. Heck
get like
no. That's the one person I
yeah
do not want to see up in this gosh dang movie.
get
If he's there, he could be like in the
listen
credits or something, but he better
no
not be into the
just
main mess.
just get Danny DeVito as Tingle, and
Oh
then he's in the end
heck
credit
no.
scene.
Heck
He's in
no.
the credit scene, and then in the end credit scene, you just see it text pop on the screen. Tingle will return.
Oh goodness. All right. Oh no, no. We need to move to the next topic because you're about to summon some
Okay.
bad voodoo juju up in here. All
Okay.
right. But yeah, so that's basically gonna do it in terms of all of the Zelda related stuff that we could kind of theorize on outside of that little bit of a blur that we got for a summary on it though. So that's gonna do it in terms of all the pop culture stuff. We would have talked about a little bit of Marvel stuff, but there's so much Nintendo related news. We had to skip it for this week, but we'll be back with it in next episode, hopefully, and as long as they don't do too much crazy stuff with the Switch
We
2 trailer or
also
whatever though. But yeah, because I wanted to talk about the Daredevil stuff, but we'll have to save it for another time. What were you about to say?
I was gonna say we also both have to watch it still.
I know that's what I'm saying. I was just waiting for all the episodes just to drop, so I'll just sit down and binge it like how I used to do with the previous seasons back on Netflix. Though it's a good series. I know it's good. I heard good things about it. All right. So with all of that being said, now let's go ahead and jump over to what we've been playing. All righty. So lately, I hadn't been playing too much. I don't know why, but I felt like I've been in some sort of kind of funk ever since I wrapped up Metaphor Refantasio early this year. What was it? It was like back in January or something. Ever since then, the only other game I've really been playing with significant amount of time has been Tales of Arise. Like I finished that first act, and then even that kind of left it on like a weird, almost like a cliffhanger of sort, but you could tell that it closed out that first act. And since then, I don't think I've been playing much of anything the past 2, almost going on 3 weeks, which is kind of wild. I don't know.
I
Every now and then I'll kind of go through a gaming funk. If I come right off the heels of a really great game, it kind of takes like something like really good to kind of get my gears going again. But that's just where I've been at. But I know you've been
yeah,
playing stuff.
I've kind of been the same way to be completely honest. It's like Sonic X Shadow Generations is the last game I really spent a lot of time playing. And then I got stuff in like the holiday sales and all that. I played a couple small games, but really I haven't played that much up until recently. I played Split Fiction. Played it with one of our friends, Yoshi, which
Oh yeah, cause
I'll go quick. I don't want to say too much because you haven't played it,
oh yeah,
but
no,
like
cause
I'll
we
say
need to
like the
play that,
general
cause
stuff.
like what was it? Didn't isn't it the same thing? Kind of like It Takes Two, where it's like if you have the copy, then whoever you want to play with, they just download what's going to be marked as like almost like a demo version, but it's really just like the full
Yeah,
game, but it ties with yours or whatever.
yeah, I'm totally up for playing it again. You would just have to get it on PC. Like I have it on PC. I could just
Okay.
share it with you.
No,
Like
yeah, we
that's
got to
how
get
it
around to
works.
do that.
Like
Maybe that's how I get out of my gaming funk a little bit. Yeah, no,
yeah,
no, that sounds like a good idea.
it's a fun game. It took me about 12 hours, 12 and a half hours to beat. Um, it is really, really good. It's the same thing as It Takes Two. Have you played It Takes Two?
No, I hadn't even played that one
Okay.
yet.
It does a very similar gameplay thing to It Takes Two, but I'd say the gameplay in this one is even better. They find some really creative ways to use the two-player mechanics. This is definitely one of the best co-op games I've ever played. And just the themes, the unique ideas, the unique settings you go through in this game, especially the ending, I really like. The characters and story are good, but It Takes Two kind of shines in that aspect. Visually, this game looks fantastic. I'm playing it on like a 1080p monitor, and I can still tell how beautiful it looks. It's definitely the closest we've ever gotten to like next gen graphics.
Okay.
Really, all I could say is like we gotta play it. I'm perfectly fine with playing it again. It's a really fun game.
Yeah, because I heard a lot of good things about It Takes Two, and then I heard some stuff here and there with Split Fiction as well. So I was like, I have to give this a shot though, because it's like I played some games, obviously with you being able to do a little bit of co-op, a little bit more so back in the day though, but probably nothing on the avenue like what these couple of games have been like, where it's like the whole experience is based upon it. You could run through a single player with you you're gonna get more out of it if you're playing it with somebody else, though. So I kind of owe it to at least try it out. I probably would like it. I'm pretty sure I will. So
I'm sure you
we just
would
got to
like
make it
it.
happen.
Yeah, remember this game won Game of the Year in 2021.
Mm. Okay, okay.
Like a lot of people like this game. It Takes Two, and then Split Fiction is literally just It Takes Two, but more. Like it does a lot more with the things that it tries to do. There's funny moments in it as well. There was a couple moments that I got really entertained by. Um, that's all I really want to say without actually playing it with you. Like I would go into detail about how it uses the co-op mechanics really well, but you'll see that.
Yeah, because the only
It's the
other thing that we can talk about outside of the Split Fiction stuff would have been the Xenoblade Chronicles X release. Were you done with Split Fiction, or was there
I
one more
was
thing you
all
were
I
trying to say?
really all I was gonna say is that it's the most Nintendo feeling game I've ever played, not made by Nintendo. Just the way that just the way that it comes up with new ideas and uses them so expertly. That's all. It's just a good game. You'll see.
All right, that sounds really nice. That sounds really nice. Um, hopefully, maybe we'll have some chance to play it sometime this week. Maybe, hopefully.
Maybe. So,
All right. So, and then the other thing I wanted to talk about was Xenoblade Chronicles X, which unfortunately, since I'm still in that little gaming funk, I picked up the game and stuff. Like I have it. It was just weird because on the weekend that it came out was like a weekend that I immediately went to go travel out of town to go visit my grandparents and stuff though. And then since then, I literally only played the game for about 30, almost 40-ish minutes. Saw like a few cutscenes. I was able to set up my avatar and stuff like that, go through basic controls. And I hadn't done much since then. Like I think I technically cleared what would have been considered as a prologue chapter, and that's it. I hadn't done much more beyond that though. But I know you've been putting more time up in the game. So how you been enjoying it?
I haven't played it in the last 2 days, but I played up to chapter like at up to chapter 5, which is like I'd probably say I'm like a fifth through the game. I'm not far, but like I've gotten up to the point where the game does open up. Like I'm in the main gameplay loop, and I really like the game so far. It's a different Xenoblade game. It is not what I'm used to from Xenoblade,
No,
but it
that's what
certainly is a lot of fun.
I could tell. Even in that first 40 minutes I was playing it, I was like, okay, it has the Xeno One flair, but it feels like and it tastes totally different from it. It almost kind of slightly put me off a little bit because I can tell this is going to be more so gameplay oriented versus the story stuff that I'm used to and accustomed to
It
with Xeno
is.
1, 2, and 3. So I was like, that kind of put me back a little bit though, but I know it takes a while for you to kind of get into the story or into the gameplay as much to where like half the game is like you getting to the point of where you get the scale, like the big robot suit or armor thing or whatever you want to call it though, but it's called a scale. And I know it
You
takes
get
about
it later.
like 20-ish something plus hours before you can get to it. I'm like, oh man, no. So I don't know. I just gotta carve out some dedicated time slots for this thing and just kind of hack away at this game. Once I get past this little bit of a funk though. But I don't know, because I mean, shoot, if let's just throw this out here though. If for some reason, if you were able to pop this game into what would be that Switch 2, and it takes up that frame rate from like 30 FPS to 60, oh man, maybe that's what I'm waiting on, and then I'll really get up. And I don't know, because I was playing it for a little bit though, and I was like, I don't know why, but when I was swerving the camera around just left and right and just panning stuff out for the little bit that I played it, I know it's been a while since I played Xenoblade 3. I don't remember the stuff being almost as choppy like that. I don't know.
All
I
right.
don't know. Hmm.
Listen, Xenoblade 3 is less choppy, but it is a lot more blurry. This game is beautiful looking on Switch.
Oh no, it looks good if you're standing still, but I was like, but every time I was like
Well,
moving the camera around like a whole bunch, I don't know, I was just noticing little stuff,
well,
little stuff.
yeah, there's little stuff, but my god, it's so much better than the Wii U version. I had it, I didn't play it much, but it was trying. And like this game, remember this game was like 23 gigabytes on Wii U, and it had all these patches to improve loading times and increase performance.
Oh, it was like
On
10
Switch,
gigabytes that was like a
on
texture
Switch,
pack or whatever. I was like, dang.
yeah, I think it's 13 gigabytes on Switch, and it runs better. It's at I think it's 1080p with dynamic resolution, 30 FPS, and it keeps 30 FPS most of the time while in gameplay, which is what matters. Like when you're in combat, it prioritizes FPS, and that the combat is very similar to Xenoblade One, but I like it more. I think that using arts feels a lot more satisfying. There's abilities you get later into the game that make using arts a lot more fun. And I know you've played this. It uses the same class system as Xenoblade 3. In Xenoblade 3, like you level up a class and then you get to use stuff from that class with other characters.
Oh, I got you. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
basically it's similar in a way. Basically, certain classes do share arts, but by mastering one class, you get to use its weapons with another. Like you can master those weapons and then use those weapons on any class. The game has a lot of weapon types.
Okay, okay.
And they all have different stats. Like sniper rifles, you can shoot enemies from farther. It does more damage. There's close. Have you gotten to the part where you could switch between a melee and a ranged weapon?
Oh yeah, no, that
That's like
was
a
like
main
really
thing. That's
early
a
on in the
main
game,
thing
and I
that
was like,
distincts. Yeah, it definitely makes it distinct because depending on what your teammates say, your teammates will say, "Oh, now's the time to move in and do melee attacks." If you listen to them and you keep like a chain going of like listening to like the little commands, it increases like the party morale. There's a lot of mechanics in this game, and it's interesting. I'm getting used to all of it, but it's fun once you get used to it. And the main gameplay of just doing the quests, I think, is pretty fun. Doing fetch quests in this game, especially with the weird, like, you uncover the map slowly, and it's got like this segments thing. You'll see what I mean. But it definitely feels more satisfying to get stuff done in this game because it does feel like you're slowly uncovering and like developing this new area.
hmm, okay. Well, I think
Um,
those are. all really good things, at least for Xenoblade Chronicles X, and I'm glad that we finally managed to get shoot with this release. Actually, it allows us to say, hey, you can play every game in the Xenoblade series all on the Switch, like one, two, with the DLC with Torna, three, and now we got Xenoblade Chronicles X. So it's like if you were
Yeah.
remotely interested in this series, the Switch is the system to have it on, or by extension, Switch 2. But yeah, no, that's crazy.
Yeah, especially because you have the best versions of all of them. Like, some people will still advocate for Xenoblade 1 original, but
Oh
like,
gosh,
because
no,
the art.
heck no,
Well, no,
heck no.
some people say that they quote unquote did like an anime style for Xenoblade 1. That's what it was always meant to be. It was always gonna look like that. It makes it more in line with Xenoblade 1 and it looks better. With Xenoblade 2. It makes it more in line with Xenoblade 2 and it looks better. So I don't know what people are mad about, okay? It looks
No,
good.
I
And
don't
they
understand that
even
argument.
adjusted a bunch of the character designs of Xenoblade X. If you compare Xenoblade X Wii U to Xenoblade X on Switch, some of the characters, a character named Lyn, especially who you'll meet soon, looks very different on Wii U. A lot worse. So everything I've seen of this game is an objective improvement.
Yeah, yeah, and I heard there was like improvements also with like the text. Because I heard the text was actually really small on the original Wii U
Oh
version,
yeah.
and I was
Oh
like,
my.
ooh, I was like, well, that was a good thing. I was waiting on this sucker, even though I technically bought it in the fear of maybe Monolith Soft wouldn't have the potential to release Xenoblade X on Switch. So I had it in my Wii U collection because I was gonna dive into it then. But once they announced the Switch version, I was like, oh, thank goodness, because there's online components and stuff in this game as well. So I was like, okay, that just made more sense though.
Yeah, there are some things on the Wii U gamepad that you literally like could not read.
That's terrible because that's right in front of your face. What the heck? Uh,
Yeah, I know.
mm. All right. Well, I think that just about does it in terms of our discussion over what we've been playing. Highlight emphasis on Split Fiction and Xenoblade Chronicles X. So with all of those things out of the way, we're about to start to get cooking over here now, though, because now let's go ahead and jump straight up into the gaming news. All right, so before we talk about the two Nintendo Switch Directs, the one that has happened and the one that's about to happen, I gotta quickly talk about this one little news topic with the Analog 3D. Because look here, suckers. Look, when I say suckers, I'm talking about Analog. I ain't talking to y'all, the audience, though. So look here, suckers. I placed this pre-order back in October of 2024. I think September, October, one of those 2 months or whatever though. Y'all said this mess was going to release in the first Q1 of March of 2025. So that means January, February, or March of 2025. And these jokers over here went and delayed this mess all the way to, oh gosh, is it basically summer of this year though? They kicked it out that far. And when I heard about this, I was like, what the freak? I literally put out a video on my channel though saying, hey, we're getting midway through March and y'all went radio silence. Y'all didn't really say much of anything though. And then and it's so weird though too because it wasn't like a flat out statement they said. You had to go to their Q&A session or like a Q&A part of their website or whatever though, where they literally said, oh yeah, what we're delaying the shipment of all of the analog 3D systems out, and it's not really going to release until July 2025. That's when we're actually going to start shipping these bad boys. I was like, gosh dang it. I was over here, Steven. I went out and bought some extra controllers for this thing, though. Like, I went out and bought the gold controller, the official one for the N64 that released back in the day. I went back and bought the fun edition color for, I think it's like the ice blue variant or whatever, though. I picked up a couple of N64 games I never played before, but I heard good things about it. Donkey Kong 64, Diddy Kong Racing, and Conker's Bad Fur Day. I went and finally pulled the trigger out on that mess. So I was like, those will be great games I never played before, but I think they'll be really nice to play on this new system and kind of incentivize me to play a little bit more along with all the other games I have like Mario Party 3, etc. And for them to be radio silence on this mess, though, not really communicate much at all. I know they release good products. We all heard about the stuff with the Analog Pocket. People rave about that system. But I just hate their business practice on their communication because they hadn't been doing that well at all. Like they already have our money and stuff. Yes, thankfully they'll let you refund it if you so need to though. But like Analog, y'all can be doing a whole lot better up on this mess though. Like sheesh.
Yeah. You talk about that for a second. I'll be right back.
All right. All right. Cause and it was so weird, even in the lead up to this mess of them talking about this delay, because of the fact that I literally was going through, I was scraping around. I remember talking to some of the customer service people. I was like, "Hey, are y'all still gonna release this in Q1?" And they say, "Yeah, we're still gonna do it." Now I don't think it was like a week or two before March was about to happen. Knowing good and well, I know that they were probably gonna delay this sucker though. And I just hate beating around the bushes to try to get this little bit of information. Like at some points, we were even looking at seeing when Amazon could possibly delay the 8-bit Doe controller that's releasing alongside of the Analog 3D, because like that ideally will release around roughly around the same time as when the Analog 3D comes out. It makes perfect sense, right? So those are kind of going hand in hand. And once we started seeing that they kind of started kicking out the release date for those controllers from Amazon a little further on into like those summer months, I was like, oh shoot, this thing is really gonna get delayed, huh? So I'm like, ugh, I don't know. I feel like Analog could be doing way better than what they currently are right now, but I don't know. This just frustrates me at this point in the game, though. And I always feel like if you're already going to take some money from people, at least inform them or give you some updates. Like another one, which is a little bit of a side tangent, but it kind of, parallels quite well. Limited Run. I think Limited Run they I guess by extension they're a little bit better than Analog 3D though, because they do give you updates. However, some of their business practices isn't necessarily the best, especially when you're ordering stuff that's like limited edition system, well not system games. You're ordering that stuff from them and it takes them months, if not years, for them to release. Like for example, Persona 4 Golden. I ordered that mess back in 2023. It was either November or December. And here we are 2025 in the month of March, and they finally said we're shipping your stuff now. It's supposed to arrive Wednesday. I'm like, oh my gosh, the same day as the Switch 2 Direct and all of that mess though. So that's gonna be a wild day for me in and of itself though. But regardless, like goodness, like they said it was gonna be releasing close to holiday of 2024. Then they delayed it and said, "Hey, we're gonna do it around January, February." They went silent, and then they finally said, "All right, now it's gonna actually release though." So I don't know if it's something with tariffs or whatever though. But at least they somewhat communicated at least a little bit better though. But regardless though, like some of these companies, they can be doing a whole lot better than what they currently are right now though.
Well, limited run games, people have always had issues with.
I
Like a
know.
lot of people have controversy with that damn company, which I haven't like I personally don't like understand most of it, but like some of the stuff I get,
I mean, it's
I don't
not
know. Like
bad if you buy a game from them and it's sitting what they got like their own personal vault now, so you can buy stuff straight from them and it's like a really quick turnaround time. Or some of those games they manage to put them on shelves in like Best Buys or whatever, or you can kind of pre-order it from there, like after when the game was set to release, so it's a quicker turnaround time. But in the pre-order window leading up to the launch of the game dropping, like that's usually the worst period, especially if you're doing limited edition stuff.
yeah,
Mm. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. It's kind of annoying when they just don't give communication.
That's all I'm asking for. It's like if you're gonna delay the system, fine. If you're gonna delay a game, fine. Just communicate that mess and don't let us be sitting on our hands and knees like this, being like, well, when is it gonna happen? Did it get canceled? Am I gonna get my money back? Like we never know all of that mess though. So just communicate a little bit better. And I feel like we shouldn't really run into this issue anymore though. But I digress because I know they ain't gonna ever fix that mess. Good gracious, sakes alive. All right, well that was my big rant right there because I had to spill out some beans at least here or there though. But all right, now with all of that out of the way, these last remaining what was it about an hour and 15-ish minutes, we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about with some Nintendo Direct related stuff though. So now let's go ahead and talk about all the announcements that we managed to get within this Nintendo Switch Direct that happened on what was it, Thursday. So just a few days ago. And I would say with most of these announcements, they're not too far off the nail of what I was kind of expecting. Like I kind of knew that we were gonna get some Metroid Prime 4 stuff. I knew we were gonna get Pokemon Legends ZA, and I felt like we are gonna get something from Square Enix, and that's where my gut was laying on. But I still got somewhat pleasantly surprised. And yes, wasn't necessarily like the biggest, greatest Nintendo Direct ever, but it did speak to a lot of those fan bases out there that you know, you have your Marios, your Zeldas and stuff that's like your top of the tier Nintendo IPs though. But you also have some lower tier stuff that would probably be like a C tier related series or whatever though. And those fans got that love in this direct though, because shoot, we might as well go ahead and talk. Mm, I'll leave it at that. We'll slowly get around to all these announcements though. We'll just take it one by one because think for the most part, everything you see on that little TV screen, if you're watching this on YouTube, those are all of the major announcements I felt like most people resonated with. There was some minor stuff up in there though, but most people will point to one of those and say that's what I remember the direct for though.
Um,
Because when we first kicked it off, we managed to get another good look at Dragon Quest 1 and 2. Did that surprise you at all, Steven? Were you expecting that?
oh, that was the one thing knew for a fact was gonna happen because they said 2025. We didn't really have any news on it, and they basically did everything, and they announced this game in a Nintendo Direct. Like Square Enix knows that people that have Switches are the ones that are gonna be interested in this most. So I expected that, but yeah, this Direct was for the weirdos. It was a weird ass.
No,
It was
gone. I wasn't trying to say that, man. You calling people weirdos? That's good.
Well, no, like no, just not a bad way, in a good way. Like I don't know, for one, we'll go through things a little bit at a time, but like I think one thing we can start with, which is what the direct should have started with, because I'll say right now, this direct kind of had terrible pacing. Um, Rhythm Heaven. I don't know if you've played Rhythm Heaven. I forget if you played any of them. Did
No,
you?
I haven't, but I always heard good things about it from people here and there. It's
Yeah.
like what I know the last one we had was on the 3DS, and surprisingly
Yes.
enough, it's almost Steven, been a whole decade since the last one. I was
Yeah.
like, wait, what?
Yeah. It's crazy. It always releases at the end of a system's life usually. Either way, like Rhythm Heaven is really cool to see. I'm very happy about Rhythm Heaven, but we also really didn't see much. And a lot of games in this direct don't have dates. We just know 2026.
Yeah, because
And
that was one of those 2026 titles, and I was like, "What?" I was thinking
yeah,
that would have kind of filled in the gap because, like, right now, as it stands, we do know Metroid Prime 4 and we do know Pokemon Legends ZA. Those two games are slated for 2025. Don't have any solid dates for them yet, but we can all say the Pokemon game will probably be November, Metroid Prime 4, late summer,
I
somewhere fall, maybe. Just throwing window frames out
I
there, though. But regardless, though, outside of those two games, we don't know anything else for the Switch that's happening in 2025.
if
And Rhythm Heaven would have been one of those ones that could have kind of bridged the gap. But when they hit us with that 2026, I was like, huh, I'm scratching my head a little bit.
so this direct really does prove that Nintendo is scraping at the bottom of the barrel, and that they've kind of run out of Switch stuff. They definitely will have Switch stuff next year, but for this year, they kind of spaced out everything in a weird way. Where I guess Legends ZA was definitely supposed to come out at the beginning of the year, Zard, because Legends Arceus came out at the beginning of 2022. So Makes me think that Legends ZA was definitely in some sort of development hell and got delayed because we heard nothing about it for a whole year, which is very unlike a Pokemon game. Not a bad thing. I'm glad it's getting more time because I like how it looks. But yeah, Legends ZA definitely seems like a nice September game to me. They said fall on the website, and September kind of leaves it in an empty spot where I can't think of anything else they would have been
No, they
releasing
just
anyway.
said late 2025. They didn't say
No, the
fall.
Japanese website said fall.
The
I
Japanese
swear.
one said fall.
I swear somewhere said fall.
I was about to
I'm
say because
st-
nowhere I've been looking at, everywhere, including their videos and stuff like that, it's just been saying late 2025. Which then at that point, it's either going to be the second half of 2025 is where
yeah,
you're
I don't
maybe
know.
basically able to pull.
I think fall works because yeah, I know it's a Pokemon game, but it's not like this is a mainline. This isn't a mainline like multiplayer Pokemon game. So this definitely probably isn't their holiday title. I definitely think their holiday title's coming. Don't worry. I think this game's releasing in September, and I think Metroid Prime 4 is gonna get a release date in the Switch 2 Direct of July.
Mm, okay.
I think July seems like a good time for that game because it will probably switch to if it releases in June, which we'll get to, I promise. Which if it releases in June, then that gives everyone a little bit of time to play the launch stuff, but also gives you a nice meaty game right around the corner that you'll be able to play with fresh new enhancements. Which you want to talk about Prime 4 now, or was there anything else earlier in the direct you want to
Well, I
discuss?
mean, since you already brought up, and you already halfway talked about Legends EA, we might as well go ahead and mention that.
Oh yeah,
Because
true, true.
Yeah,
Sorry.
because with the ZA information, the main thing that we pulled out of it, surprisingly, we got more information out of this one trailer than we did out of any of the information we got out of the Pokemon Day one outside. I guess what would be what was it, the
Well,
starters, I guess, and maybe the
we
first
found
rare look.
we got starters, we got like official art. We found out it takes place after XY. Like we found out a decent amount, but now we know like what you're gonna be doing throughout the game. We know like the ranking thing, which I'll let you talk
Yeah,
about that.
which that I guess basically kind of spurs on the thought of, hey, that's the reason why the game was probably called ZA because you literally you rank yourself up from rank Z all the way up until A, and I think they basically said, hey, you can go into the wild areas and stuff like that, which I'm pulling some stuff from Sword and Shield because I guess technically that's where the wild areas kind of started from anyway, though. But you have this whole cycle with a day night things like because at night that's when all the trainers come out. If you happen to lock eyes in classic Pokemon fashion, you're just gonna start duking it out on the street, literally duking it out on the streets, though. But yeah, that's like the major premise of you trying to go through Razor ranks and do all of that fun extra stuff, though. I feel like that was like the major thing that they went and announced in this direct, and there wasn't too much more beyond that. So I'm like, okay, all right. So I mean, the game it still looks cool and stuff. They didn't give us a release date or anything like that, and that's pretty much all we have to go off of, at least for the time being.
Yeah, like I liked how like the city going like kind of changing completely at night is cool. It makes me think if this game's gonna actually have a day-night cycle, or if it's gonna be specific story events or specific locations that change the time. I
Or
hope
I
it's like
mean,
an
you
actual
could
day-night
tell it
cycle.
or I guess you could tell it to actually flip. Because otherwise, it'll be like you walk in the street like a Majora's Mask thing, and then it just boom, it just
Wait,
flips or
Zord, you
something
there?
like that. Oh,
Zord.
did I lose you? Oh, I might have lost Steven.
Oh,
Let me.
can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I guess you can't
Okay.
hear me.
No,
Oh,
I
oh,
can hear you.
oh,
I can
okay.
hear you.
That must have been Discord because I was like, I didn't do nothing over here on my
Yeah,
end.
I don't know. Either way, Legend ZA looks cool. Like I have no objections to what I've seen with that game. It just looks cool, and I hope it keeps looking cool. There were a lot of leaks about the megas. I'm not gonna say anything. All right. All I'll say is that I'm excited. None of it's necessarily confirmed, but a lot of sources that are usually always right.
Mm,
Besides that, game looks fun, and there's certainly a lot more they're gonna show off if leaks are to be believed.
okay, all righty. Well, I think that's about it for most of the Pokemon Legends stuff, and then we'll talk about the other game that a lot of people are looking forward to Metroid Prime 4 because we were all expecting this as well. Probably one of the last other things we expected in this direct, besides Dragon Quest and Pokemon, before then you get into all the weird stuff.
Oh, because they put it right in the middle. It was weird. I don't know why they did that. Like, kind of like,
You think they would have started off this thing with it, but when they
yeah,
started it off with
or
Dragon
ended.
Quest, I already knew. I was like, well, this ain't gonna be one of those like big major directs. Because maybe they put it in the middle because they knew if they started it off with this, they knew that we were gonna get hyped up for whatever that big last what would be that one more, which we'll talk about that at
No,
the very end of this discussion though. But
putting
uh
it in the middle doesn't make that any better.
I don't know. I don't know. But regardless though, like this game looks clean, clean
It
as
looks so
crap.
good.
Oh shoot, though. And I guess the major that we can pull out of this one trailer is the fact that Samus has like these psychic powers. And I don't know, something with that purple with the way how her classic suit looks though. But have you seen that box art of the game? Like, oh shoot.
It
Like that
looks good.
man, I'm telling you what though, because like when we go back and look at all the different box arts for all these Switch games though, that's gonna be contender for like a best box art. Mark my words up on that
Well,
list though. That looked
I
good.
don't know. It looks nice, but there's not necessarily a lot going on. Like, I wish she was in like a more interesting pose, if you ask me, or like there was more action going on. Like, Metroid Prime 2 and 3 have more interesting cover art, if you ask me. Like, two, at least Metroid Prime 3 has like Samus and Dark Samus like back to back, like her reflection almost. Metroid Prime 2. I'm trying to find the art real quick. I really like Metroid Prime 2's box art. That's her like in an action pose, charging like a shot.
Yeah.
I don't
I-
know. Obviously, like they for a lot of the games they do just Samus just on the box art, just Samus facing front doing a pose. Even Metroid Dread does that, but Metroid Dread gets away with it because it looks really cool, and you have the Emmys in the background of the box art.
Yeah. So I mean,
Um,
it's not
it's
too bad though. I mean, yeah, I know
yeah, the
stuff is gonna be
colors are
subjective,
nice.
but
Like,
I'm
because it
just
was
saying
like
it looked good.
she's got the yeah, she's got the purple visor as well in this. I'm assuming it's linked to her psychic abilities, which are very interesting. But like she's got a purple visor and like obviously the little psychic hand
Yeah,
and
because
the
oh, yeah, because like even in the middle of the trailer, like when they started showcasing off the psychic abilities and stuff, it looked like oh she can move certain objects maybe to kind of open up a brand new area of the map. And then there was like even one crazy moment where it's like you shooting stuff out of your arm cannon, and you can literally tell the shot of where you're shooting at to kind of go upon a certain trajectory of wherever you want it to go. So it shot
you
through
could
like two different enemies and then hit something up high. I was like,
it
"Oh my gosh."
it reminds me of weirdly enough it reminds me of like Guardians of the Galaxy with Yondu's arrow, just like aiming like kind of aiming it midair to go through multiple different targets is really fucking cool looking. Uh, Besides that, like the psychic abilities are definitely going to be the main thing in the game. Like unlocking more of those, using them to open doors and do puzzles. I'm really interested for the puzzle aspect because I don't know about you, Zard. This game is looking a lot like Prime 1, which is a good thing in my opinion. Like it looks like it's just going to be on one planet that she gets stranded on and she tries to escape it.
Oh, you didn't want nothing with the dark world or anything
Oh,
like that?
it's not bad. No, I like it. It's fine. I'm just saying that like, I like Prime 1 is probably the best Prime game, so just leave it nice and condensed on like one world and make it cuz make it a Metroidvania. Make it a nice open Metroidvania how it should be. Prime 1 does a really good job of translating like a Metroidvania into 3D. And we seen a lot in this game. We've seen the mini map up in the top right just like the Prime games. The UI looks really clean. This game is looking like the sequel to Prime 3 that we should have gotten how long ago.
Yeah.
It looks like it's just continuing off where everything left off. It kind of looks like we didn't even skip what how many years has it been? Like 14, 15.
Oh, yeah, it's been a hot minute since those the GameCube releases, but yeah.
I'm just glad to see Metroid in a good spot because Metroid's a really great series, just a nice consistent quality for the most part.
No, yeah.
And
So
oh,
well,
sorry,
no,
I
I
was
was
just
thinking
gonna
about
say.
something, but then it kind of slipped my mind though. But what were you about to say?
Sorry, I was just gonna say, and I might already mentioned it, but oh my god, man, the visuals in this game look so good. How is this a Switch One game? This is a Switch One game that I'm pretty sure, going off of that original trailer, I'd have to watch the new one again. Runs at 60 FPS.
Hey, Retro Studios, they're good at their craft. They know
I
exactly what they're
know.
doing. Kind of just makes you think it's like, dang, how come they just didn't give this straight to them to begin with at first instead of what was it? I think Bandai Namco had it at first or
That's
something
the
like that.
rumor. The rumor is that Bandai Namco had it originally, which I am inclined to believe that.
Mm. But
All I
yeah,
know is that the game looks better, and I'm sure this is a lot better than whatever Bandai was gonna make.
yeah. So I don't know, but we've been waiting on this mess for a hot minute, and I think the wildest thing about this whole thing was the fact that we still don't have a release date for it though. But I think it's a calculated decision because I can guarantee you almost 85%. I'm pretty sure we'll see Metroid Prime 4 pop up again in the Switch 2 Direct, and they'll use it as like a comparison kind of video to say, hey, this is what the Switch version will look like, and here's what a Switch 2
Oh
version of the
yeah,
game will look like. And in that, I'm thinking that's when they're going to give us the release date. Because I'm thinking, hey, they just keep it as 2025 for the sake of this direct, because literally within less than a week, we'll give you the actual release date at that point. Because I think it's a little sooner than what a lot of people might be expecting. Because I think this
yeah.
could be a launch day title to
I
coincide with the Switch 2. I'm just saying.
listen. I think I don't know. I'm still of the opinion that Mario Kart will be the launch title. You know, they showed off. You know, with the Switch in that original Switch reveal trailer, they showed Breath of the Wild. They knew what people wanted to play on that damn thing. This game, Metroid Prime 4 looks really good, but this isn't the type of game you can sell a console with, as much as I hate to say that. Like, Metroid is still relative niche. Not to the same, not to the same, like, degree as Zelda's, like, popularity. Which I would love for Metroid to be as popular as, like, something like, be Nintendo's Halo, I guess, in terms of popularity, but it's never gonna happen. Like, this game is gonna be great, and I do hope it has a Switch 2 version. This game deserves to have amazing, even better visuals on better hardware. It looks really good, but this could be a true, like, tech showcase for them if they want it to be. But I don't know. I just think this is the perfect game to release right after launch. Have you start the launch of the system with a big, nice multiplayer game, and then have a big nice core single player game release only like a month later. This isn't unlike Nintendo. They released the GameCube, and then I think a week or two, like maybe either a week or a month later, Melee came out.
Yeah,
Very
and I don't.
like, I don't know. It's they're definitely gonna do that again if you ask me.
Yeah, I didn't want to go too far up in there because otherwise you kind of you'll be spilling all the beans for what we got to talk
You're
about a little
right.
later
You're right.
on, though.
I'll wait.
But regardless, though, MP4 it looks solid at least in this direct. I love the art style. The gameplay looks good and clean. It seems like they're gonna add just enough new stuff to the thing, where it's gonna keep the experience not nice, refreshing, and unique. So I guess that was it in terms of the big major first party games that we were expecting. We already talked about Dragon Quest 1 and 2. The other one they managed to show us another good look at again was the Shadow Labyrinth game from Bandai, which I was like, okay. I was like, we got that what in the last oh gosh, what presentation was it? It was the Game Awards where we got to see it for the first time. So we got to see another good look at it. Still wild seeing Pac-Man shown in that kind of light though. I digress. Um, was there anything
Oh,
you
that
wanted to
game
say
looks
about that one?
funny. Yeah, I'm gonna get it day one. It just seems like my type of game. Nice 2D platformer.
Okay, yeah, you just have to keep me updated because I'm curious because I feel like by the time that game does come out, there might be quite a bit of stuff going down though. But I'll hear your thoughts. 'Cause I'll be curious about it regardless though. And I think the only other third party game that somewhat caught my interest. would be that the Marvel beat 'em up game or whatever though. Like that one looked kind of cool. I saw that one. I was like, all right, that's not too bad in comparison to everything else you were just kind of shown. Which honestly, it always felt like you were in some kind of dead space. You didn't really care about most of these announcements until all the ones we just been going through and talking about though. So that one looked cool.
Yeah.
And then
Um,
outside of that, that was basically it until we already talked about Rhythm Heaven and stuff like that. That was basically it until we got to almost the very tail ending of the direct though. But was there any other those random third party games, Steven, that caught your eye, or was everything else just kind of so so?
you know what? Real quick, I'm just gonna look up what was in the direct again.
Because honestly, like I have all of this stuff, and I was like, everything I got on that little TV screen over there. I was like, that's all of the stuff I really honestly cared about outside of you know a couple of Nintendo feature stuff that's going to be
Oh,
with the Switch, which we'll talk about that here as soon as you're done looking at all the rest of those third party games.
wait, Zard,
Well,
Zard, it's kind of cutting out. Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. I guess I don't know
Oh,
if you can still
it's
hear
uh, it's,
me.
it's losing you. Let me rejoin quick.
All right, so he's going to rejoin in, and then hopefully
All
he can
right,
hear my voice now.
you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that.
Hmm.
I was just gonna say, uh, one of the main ones that really caught my eye was Rift of the Necrodancer. It's
Hmm.
like a made pretty sure made by the same people as Crypt of the Necrodancer, and it's like a rhythm game, and
Oh,
it does have like fun little stuff in it, and it does have some indie game crossovers. I know for Pizza Pepino from Pizza Tower is a crossover in the game.
yeah, that was the
Um,
one I noticed when I was doing my little reaction stream. I was like, wait a minute, they have a whole bunch of indie crossovers up in this thing. I was like, what the heck?
yeah, no, those games get those. It looks cool. And I think that game's already out. I think yeah,
Hmm. Okay.
and it's got like a Celeste music pack, which Celeste music is pretty good.
All right. Well, I think that was basically it in terms of most of the third party stuff. And then before we talk about what ended the direct, there was also one other thing that, well, I guess technically it truly ended it. Well, I want to mention this one first, though. Oh, no, oh no. Okay, no, I'm thinking about. Oh gosh, dang, there's three more things we need to talk about. We'll do them all in order. Um, the digital game sharing stuff, like the digital
Oh
game
my god.
cards, that was a topic of hot discussion for better or for worse. There's actually a little bit on both sides of the end though, but let's talk about the for worse part, which I know for a lot of people that confused the mess out of them. And at first, when I was sitting down and watching that presentation, I was like, I think I understanding it. I think I'm getting it. And then I was like, is this just a fancy way of just kind of the way how you already have the stuff set up with the primary and the secondary systems and stuff? At least that's what I was thinking of at first. But then they hit us with the fact that it was like, oh, well, not only can you own your digital games like how you normally do, but you can technically easily pick it up and drop it into what will be as your secondary switch without the need of really connecting to the internet. You might have to do it one time when you're pairing the two systems, but then after that, boom, it's on that other system that you might have, and you don't have to really connect up to the internet anymore. Like you'll have that copy for the next 2 weeks. Or if you have a family plan with a group of people, and as long as you're able to connect those switches locally, imagine if you're in a household full of people, like your family or whatever, though, you can actually share your games with other people that were digital games, which you can always do that with physical cartridges, but you never really could do it digitally without jumping through some hoops and stuff with sharing your account on someone else's Switch. But now they're trying to make it a little bit more seamless. So after looking at everything and having all this information sit for a period of time, I say that this is a good move for Nintendo for the most part. It I think it benefits people more so as long as you're living in close quarters or you're associating yourself with friends or other family members and stuff like that, at least within the comforts of your own home, city, block, whatever though. But if you were trying to share your games with someone halfway across the globe, it might not be the news that you kind of wanted to hear. And it kind of makes sense because are you really going to ship a cartridge halfway across the globe to one of your other friends that might live all the way in New Zealand or something like that? No, you ain't gonna do that mess. So they're kind of applying the same thing with your digital games, which kind of makes sense.
Oh, I wish you could like at least do the renting thing with people far away, but you need local wireless for the renting as well, which is weird.
Yeah, so they're literally trying to treat this as much as possible to an actual physical game card, which literally you would be doing the same thing. You would not be shipping that cartridge halfway across the world as one of your other friends. You just be like, tough luck. I'll just buy you a game and give it to you that point though, because I mean that sucker would have got lost in transit somewhere though. But yeah, it makes sense when you look at it in hindsight 2020. I think just a lot of people just kind of wish that if you were in a family playing with some people or shoot, even if you live like a couple of states over, or whatever, though, just to be able to share that. Which I can understand why people kind of want that, though. But at least this is a step in the right direction because you didn't have this flexibility, at least in times past, before they made this announcement. So I still appreciate giving you options. And based upon the fine text that I heard or saw up in this direct, the primary and secondary switch thing, that's not going to go out the window. If you're sharing some games with other people, with the current way how you have to kind of beat around the bush and doing it, it seems like that option is still going to be available. It's just you're having another option on top of this now.
Yeah, like when I first seen this, it really was confusing me, but like I kind of understand it a little now. I don't know. I think the way they explained it was super confusing, but it makes a little more sense when I looked into it three more times,
Three more times. Oh goodness. Uh, yeah. So
basically.
hopefully they kind of streamline that and make sure that it's kind of flawless though, because at least for parents, this can be hugely beneficial. Because I can't say how many people that probably bought a Switch, they have a family full of people. Like they got like two or three kids or something like that. And each one of those kids, they might be running around with a Switch Lite or something like that. You buy a game digitally, and unless they were playing your own Switch docked up to the TV with one of their accounts shared to it, then it's probably like a living nightmare to kind of share that game around with all the members of your family though. But now with what they just announced, it makes it almost a lot more seamless. I mean, shoot, even my brother, I can share more of my games with him, a bunch of digital games that are just sitting on my system. I'm not going to play them anymore because I just like to play the brand new thing, though. He usually only likes playing a bunch of Mario, Zelda, and a little bit of Pokemon or whatever, though. But this could be another good avenue to say, hey, look, if he's bored, I can just say, hey, I recommend you trying out this. I can give it to him basically for a couple of weeks, let him play it, download it, have a good fun time for a period of time and then he can send it back to me. Or for example, I know he has like Animal Crossing or whatever. I can legit play Animal Crossing with my own say. Oh, and that's a whole other thing. It's the save data stuff. Because when you send those games and you're able to quote unquote rent them for a couple of weeks, you can do it with your own profile. So you have your own save data and stuff. So if you really love the game, you can go out and buy it for yourself or whatever though, and pick up right where you left off, which is something you can't do with the current way how you put your account on someone else's Switch or whatever though. It's not necessarily your save data. It's still tied with their account. Ooh, all
Yeah,
right.
it's very interesting.
Mm, yeah, it is
I don't
very
know.
interesting.
I have no words on it besides like it's a cool option, I guess. It really kind of pissed me off when I first saw it because it kind of made me think that they were just taking away options. But as long as it's just an alternative, fine. Because right now, yeah, you could like you could connect your account to someone else's Switch and then they could download the games and then play it on a different user.
Yeah.
It's more complicated, but like it does work and you get to, you just let your friend play the games when he wants.
Yeah, that one's more like the solution for people of a long distance and you don't care about not having to save data exclusively for yourself. It's like you got to go up in the settings and stuff, tell it to turn off the automatic save data cloud thing if they have a NSO account or whatever the or
Yeah.
yeah, Nintendo Switch Online
Well,
thing subscription. So
as
that way
long as they
your save doesn't override their natural save that could be dumping in the cloud or whatever.
well, no, as long as they don't use your user, it's fine. Like, I could download the game from user 2, but still play on user 1.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a
So,
lot more hoops and hurdles with this,
like,
and obviously
yeah.
Like for example, if I had your account on my Switch so I can play your Pizza Tower copy or something, I'm just making something up. It technically will work like that. I have to play it with your user account, but your user's account that will have that save data to it, it's locked to my Switch underneath that profile. I can't ever get that save data and put it on my own Switch. So if something were to happen, you take back your account from me or whatever, though, that save data is just lost. That was like the main number one issue that you had with that, along with the fact that you would have to, I'll have to play that game while you're not connected to the internet at any given point, and I had to connect to the internet just to make sure I could play that game off of your account. That's the big major issue right there. However, with the one that they brought up with that solution, imagine if you did live somewhere close to me, you let me borrow that game because we're on the same family plan or whatever though. I can just have access to playing that for 2 weeks with no exceptions, if and or buts, and that's with my own user account. So when you start stacking them up, this one is a lot more convenient. It just you got to be closer. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, it
Hmm.
really just depends.
Yeah, so it just kind of depends on your situation or whatever though. But I think that's all I got to say at least with the digital game sharing though. Now, well, no, we'll circle back around to it. We got time. And then outside of that, that brought us to the very last game announcement in this Nintendo Direct. That being they managed to announce a brand new Tomodachi Life. Because I was looking at it
Yeah,
when they first showed off the thing, and in my reaction, I was like, "Wait, what is this?" I was like, "This ain't no Animal Crossing thing, is it?"
that's what I
And then
thought
the
at first.
second I saw the me, I was like, "Wait, is that Tomodachi?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, it is." I was like, "This is weird." Because I was like, "Wait a minute." I was like, "When was the last one that we had in this series, and how much did that sucker manage to sell?" I think the last one was on the 3DS, and it actually managed to sell somewhere in the net range of close to like somewhere between 6 or 7 million copies. I was like, "What?" And I was like, "I think I heard about the game, but I mean, I heard about it, but I hadn't heard like any crazy buzz or something about it though." But was that where that meme came from with the all hell virtual boy or something weird like that?
I a lot of memes came from it, if that's what you're wondering.
I might
A
be
lot of
thinking
like,
of it.
because it's like the Mii's with their like the text to speech Mii's, like singing and dancing like in a concert and this and that. You can like put them on dates and stuff. It's just a life sim. It's like The Sims but with Mii's. It's a fun game. I'm not as big as other people about it. Trust me. It's not like I'm not crazy about it, but hey, it's cool.
Yeah. No, it's cool. And like what you said, quote unquote, in your own words, this direct was for the weirdos. So
It
I
is
don't, I don't know, but regardless,
not in a bad way.
I'm happy for all the fans out there that managed to get this though. But between like Tomodachi Life and Rhythm Heaven, I'll be more likely to try out Rhythm Heaven versus Tomodachi Life because like those sim related kind of things, it's like I don't know that they don't usually do it for me per se though. But I heard a lot of good things about Rhythm Heaven, and I do like music related stuff though. So I mean that game is pretty simple, all things considered. All you're doing is literally hitting one button. You might toggle the stick around to navigate some menus, but I mean the
That's it.
gameplay itself is just one button. Just all about the rhythms and stuff though. So honestly, not bad. You could definitely tell the Switch was kind of running on life support with all the announcements when it was all said and done. Because the second they showed Dragon Quest at the very beginning, I could just kind of tell that this wasn't going to be like one of those big major directs, though. But had we had this Nintendo Direct, Steven, in the month of February, oh shoot, there would probably been a lot more salty people about this mess because they would have
Oh
been
yeah,
ready for the Switch 2. But I imagine a lot of people were like they were fine with this because he had a couple or a few cool announcements up in here, and it's kind of like you're treating this like an appetizer to the main course. So no one really felt really badly hurt because 6 days later you got the big major one coming.
yeah, and that's it's like a direct that we didn't necessarily know we were gonna get, so you can't complain that much. But at the same time, I don't know. It's still just a quite little bit. quite little bit weird. Like, I don't know. I don't like the pacing. It's a fine direct, but like the pacing makes it feel kind of bad.
Oh yeah, no, because until we got that announcement of the Marvel, the Metroid, Rhythm Heaven, Tomodachi, the Dragon Quest, Pokemon Legends EA, or Shadow Labyrinth, if it wasn't one of those titles that was being shown, I literally almost had zero interest for all of those. There was one I know that you were excited for, Steven, with the which I was gonna get this game too whenever it does come out. Gosh, the name of it's slipping me, but it was in like a what's the name of it? I don't know why it's slipping from my mind now, but in like one of those where they quickly blast through a whole bunch of trailers and stuff like that. Like, what's the term of
Highlight
that
reels
again?
with the montage.
Yeah, it's like the little montage thing where it's like, all right, sizzle reel or something. Yeah, that's what I was looking
Yeah,
for.
that's
Sizzle
that's a
reel.
good.
In that sizzle reel, they managed to show off Fantasy Life I, the Girl Who Steals
Oh my
Time. Like
god,
that was in
yeah.
there. So I was like, oh, okay, but it didn't really get like a really solid block of time though. But I mean, outside of moments like that, if it wasn't all those games I mentioned before, I just felt like, oh, okay, what's the next thing? Because this ain't doing it for me. Like
Yeah,
that's kind of how
listen,
that was the mindset of that direct.
Fantasy Life it was 5 FPS basically. It wasn't actually 5 FPS, but my god, man, bad frame rates on Switch. I'm getting that game on Steam.
I don't know. Like that was like one quick look. I don't know though, but I don't
We'll
know. We'll
see.
see. Cause when is the release date for it? Is it in May or something?
It is in May, which I hope.
Hmm.
Yeah, I hope it's good because I love the first game on 3DS.
Okay. Well, not too much longer to wait on that one though. All right, and that was basically it for the direct until they hit us with one more thing, but it wasn't a game announcement. Nintendo literally came out here with Miyamoto and he said, hey, we're releasing another new app. And he was saying how everybody loves the Nintendo Directs. Everybody usually gets hyped for it and stuff, though. We're gonna take one step further in terms of our global outreach and release a dedicated app that just gives you the Nintendo news straight to you. Like it's like daily updates. They can say something about they can bring up like, hey, on this day, a new game happens to release. Like it could have been Xenoblade Chronicles X up in the app, like saying, "Hey, don't forget this game came out today" or whatever. Though it could be an anniversary or something like that. It could be a DLC expansion is dropping on this day or something like that. Hey, the new Splatfest is happening in Splatoon or whatever. Though, or look at this, like there's like some kind of crossover event with a Nintendo mobile game with Fire Emblem Heroes. The list kind of goes on and on. Anything Nintendo related news, whether it been something with the mobile or a game release or something like that, DLC, ongoing games, not necessarily live service, but you know what I mean, like with Splatoon and stuff like that. It's all represented up in here though. And I find that pretty cool because like even what you consider as like pop culture related stuff or like movie related stuff, they even announced the release date for the Zelda movie in this app, literally almost think it was literally a day later. Like, what was it on that Friday, Steven? Because the
Yeah, no,
direct was on Thursday and they announced that on Friday in the app.
quite literally a day later. But yeah, I think it's really cool that they're gonna give this like exclusive announcements. Like Nintendo basically is controlling the news around. Well, here's the thing: Nintendo's trying to control the news that they give out, and like that's okay, I guess. But like I don't know, if there people are gonna post it on Twitter anyways. I think
Oh
the
yeah,
cool
no.
thing is that the fact that they're giving us a news app means that they're hopefully gonna give us news more frequently. They're not just going to leave us in the dark for however many months. They're going to give us frequent news, which they did say that. They said after the Switch 2 Direct, they will be giving consistent news. Did
Oh yeah.
you right? They will be giving news every single day about Switch 2, whether or not that's like, just highlights on specific games or this or that, like showing us new features of the menus or this and that. They're gonna show us stuff every single day. So the Switch 2 Direct itself is only the beginning.
Which honestly, that's kind of cool because it kind of, in some kind of similar ways, kind of brings me back. Oh gosh, to the man, I had something in my throat. Kind of brings me back to the Smash days where I'm rewinding the clock all the way back to like Super Smash Bros. Brawl, like the whole Smash Dojo thing Like when you have like a brand new Smash Brothers game coming out in general, you're always constantly checking out that website to see if they managed to update or do something new, which is something that Sakurai and his team, with whoever was like maintaining the marketing and all that stuff, they do quite well within those Smash Brothers games. I kind of getting those same kind of vibes for it because like once the Switch 2 comes out, you're always going to be going in and checking that app to see what kind of new stuff that they managed to reveal and stuff, whether it been stuff with the Switch 2 or anything else within the Nintendo gaming sphere and stuff in terms of whatever they have to announce though. So I think it's really smart. They kind of pivoting a little bit away from, announcing stuff generally on Twitter and stuff. Like all
Yeah.
the breaking news can be literally found in this app though. So it kind of keeps you a little bit more closely knitted in their ecosystem. So it's a clever move from Nintendo to be able to do this, and they definitely came out with a statement saying, "Hey, the Zelda movie release date, that was the first major thing." So it's like, "Hey,
Yeah.
we ain't playing around with this app. Y'all best
Hey,
to go ahead and download this mess now."
it's also pretty charming with all the unique animations for each day and like the little quizzes it gives you. It's just like I don't know. It feels like this will probably be built into the Switch too.
Oh yeah, instead of like what that because you have
The
that
news
news
well, I think
feature or whatever though,
I
so
think the
maybe they
news tab
will.
will stay. I don't think there's a reason for the news tab to be removed, especially because there are some games that give you exclusive content through the news tab. It'd be weird to like remove that and like basically just remove a way to get that content. And also because the news tab is going to be used for more than just Nintendo's own stuff. Like third parties will be using the news tab. The news tab is definitely nice on Switch, especially during the beginning days where, it showed before AI slop took over the whole eShop. It was nice
Mhm.
to see like what was going on every week, what new games were coming out because at the beginning of the Switch's life, there wasn't a lot. So every new game was nice.
Mhm.
Either way though, um that kind of just brings us to the big thing we're going to talk about.
All right.
Nintendo today is kind of connected to it.
Yeah. So I think
It's
outside of that, we might as well go, yeah, because we're gonna have to go ahead and pivot to that very last major topic because we're gonna run out of time. But if you were to give a letter grade for this Nintendo Switch One Direct, as this is probably the last Nintendo Switch One Direct that was been focused just only on that system, what letter grade were you giving it, Steven?
I would give it a B minus.
Dang, you kind of generous. I would give this thing a C, a solid C.
I'm giving it a B minus because of Rhythm Heaven. That's the
Mm.
one thing it gets.
Okay. I was about to say Rhythm Heaven was cool, but I did like the updates from ZA and Metroid Prime 4 as well. I think between those three, that's where all my focus was on. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 is cool too. It's just I guess you can only go so far with announcements that you already knew that existed. And even with the Dragon Quest 1 and 2, we didn't even get a release date for that thing. It still says 2025. But anyway though, I think that's basically it in terms of the Nintendo Switch 1 direct discussion. So now let's go ahead and switch it on over to the big Nintendo Switch 2 dedicated direct. That's literally going to be happening in 3 days or could be less depending on the time that you're watching this podcast, though. Because this will be like the last time that we'll probably give some predictions on it, though. I did already drop a video on my channel just doing my solo predictions, though. But just to kind of keep an open format, here we go with our podcast predictions on this direct, though. And before we get into the game prediction stuff, like let's just go ahead and talk about what we might see in terms of the hardware, software, because they're going to talk about that first before they even get into the game stuff. So in terms of that, Steven, I'm thinking when they start off this direct, I feel like in times past, that's when you would have had someone like a Reggie or something like that walking out and on stage or something like that, which I don't expect this direct to be anything remotely similar to that January 2017 presentation, but I'm expecting to see more faces like, like how you will have like Mr. Koizumi or something like that show up in a direct or like Miyamoto like at the end of that Switch 1 direct. I'm expecting someone to show up there. And it might be that same dude that showed off the Joy Cons the very first time in that January presentation or
Oh,
whatever, though.
Yoshiaki Koizumi.
Yeah, yeah, him. Because I don't think Furukawa's a businessman, but I don't think he's like one of those like flashy dudes that will just kind of show up
Yeah,
on camera or something like that.
yeah, not really. Like, We'll see what they do. Honestly,
But yeah, I'm expecting them to start off with something like that, some kind of quick little sizzle reel that kind of showcases off the system in the same similar manner that we got within that first Switch 2 teaser or whatever though. So I'm
yeah.
expecting them to start off with that and then just go straight up into the hardware, like what makes the Switch 2 a little bit different versus the Switch 1. And I think one of the things they'll talk about first is the mouse mode.
Yeah, and the mouse mode is very interesting because I think it's gonna be cool. I think it's a cool idea that it's very Nintendo. It's an extremely Nintendo idea, and it will work because this will be included with the system. It's if it's built into the Joy Cons, it'll be included into the system. Nintendo can just make games with it, and you're expected to have the controllers already. Which I like it. I think it's a really unique thing to do with the Joy Cons. It's a nice evolution. Which, if we're on the topic of the Joy Cons, they're basically the same. They just have a nice, the middle section. The magnet part that actually goes into the Switch is it's thicker. You got bigger L and R buttons on each of them. So the Joy Cons are probably just gonna be more comfortable to use by themselves, anyways.
Thank goodness, because the current Joy Cons that we had, it was cool just play around with new hardware when the system first came out though. But I quickly found out in comparison to holding one of them Joy Cons to my Pro controller, I always had to put the little strap up on her just to make it a little bit bigger. And even then, I was like, dang, these things are small because I got some big old hands, Steven, though. And I was
Yeah.
like, no, holding those Joy-Cons sideways, and I did it a couple of times with Mario Kart, like, that ain't it, coach. I'm like, bro.
Yeah, but they're definitely going to start off showing the tech, showing the Joy-Cons. I don't think they're going to actually advertise it, but I think it will have Hall effect sticks. Which, please have Hall
I
effect
think you're
sticks.
asking for a little too much, Steven.
I just don't want them to goddamn drift. Because come
Uh,
on, if Nintendo's actually going to be marketing these controllers to use for games, they better not go bad on me within a fucking month.
Well, I hope not, because if you have like a whole
That's
unique
what
thing with the mouse feature, like you ain't gonna be able to do that.
I'm
Maybe,
saying. And
but
also,
probably not. At least not comfortable with like versus like a pro controller. You're gonna have to use the Joy Cons in some
yeah.
scenarios.
And also, I'm pretty sure these will be more expensive. Like, I'm pretty sure these will probably be like, it will probably be like $90 for a pair of these.
Oh gosh, that hurts right
Like
there. That
45
hurts.
per Joy-Con. And if it is $90 for a pair of these, my god, they need to make them better. They need to make them Hall effect. I don't want goddamn drift. Nintendo knows how big of a problem it was. Like they've gone in and fixed these problems before. With the original Switch, the kickstand stuff sucked. So they made a much better kickstand for the OLED. Like they do solve some of these problems.
Well,
But
since you already said price point for the Joy Cons, if the Joy Cons like what the current Joy Cons right now are $80 for a pair, or it's
yes, I think
50 if you're just trying to
90.
buy one.
I think
90.
90 for a pair.
Okay, that sounds about right. And then that would move up the cost of the Switch Pro controller, which currently sells for
$80.
70 up to 80. Which honestly, that's kind of wild because oh no, it's not too
No,
wild
I
because
think
I think PS5 controllers,
I,
they're 75 bucks. So that's not too wild.
okay, I'm gonna say 80 for one reason and one reason only, because there are those patents that say that the
Oh,
Switch two pieces. They might do a Pro controller that splits into two that has mouse functionality. Because if the mouse functionality is gonna be important, it would be annoying to have to switch controllers. You know what I mean?
oh, for the sake of you being able to have that Switch Pro controller, and then if you were just like
Yes.
break it in half or something,
Come on,
then put it down.
it can't, yeah, it can't truly be a Pro controller if it doesn't have that capability. Like, for example, on the Switch Pro controller does not have an IR sensor, but hardly any games use the IR,
I was
so it's
about to
not a
say,
big
yeah.
deal.
I mean,
Like, for
there's been
example,
some stuff missing
imagine,
in the past.
well, that's what I'm saying. Imagine if the Switch Pro controller did not have motion. It's in my opinion, depending on how much Nintendo uses the mouse mode, which I'm hoping they use it a lot because it's a cool feature. I hope it's built into the Pro controller somehow.
Yeah.
We'll see what they do. We will see honestly what they do with the fucking with the Pro controller. But I hope there is one. I hope there is a new Pro controller because I don't know, like it would be my Switch Pro controllers all got drift on me. So they make a new Pro controller with Hall effect sticks. Might be my new favorite controller because the Switch Pro controller is really good,
Yeah,
like
no,
form factor wise.
yeah, that one did have a really good form factor as well, though. And I'm looking at what was it? Yeah, because I feel like the other thing I would just go ahead and predict out here while we're talking about little bits of hardware and stuff, because we'll get a little bit of updates in that in this presentation as well, since we're already talking about it. Please, for all things good, give us a stinking audio jack thing on the actual Pro controller itself. Because we know the
Yeah,
Joy Cons, it's not going to be there because it makes sense. You're cramming so much stuff into a
I
small
think
thing, but maybe on the grip itself where you plug the Joy Cons in, then that is like where a spot where you can plug up the audio jack up in there so you can use a pair of headphones or whatever. Then I'll be fine with that though. But on the Pro controller itself, please put that mess up on there and please incorporate some kind of native voice control or something like that up in there.
so. Here's the thing. I think one of the third party Pro controllers that leaked does have that. One of those third party Pro controllers does have a headphone jack on it, but you never know. It could just be like not even a Switch 2 related thing.
Yeah,
So,
I'm just
like it
hoping.
could happen. But besides that, with other hardware stuff, there's not much. Like the actual main console unit is definitely gonna be what we expect. I don't think that top USB port is gonna be for a second screen. I don't know who's saying that. It's gonna be way too fragile for that. But it will just be nice to charge the thing from the top.
But I also see a comment in the chat from Redbeard. I know some people use Discord. Like for example, when me and Steven are over here and we're playing games and stuff, we use Discord all the time. Though I just like there to be options. All right, and it doesn't just only start off with being able to just do voice chat within the game itself. Because you never know, you might have a group of family members or a group of tight friends or whatever though that just for the sake of convenience, you might just want to do it on there and outside of Discord. Like maybe you just catch people online. Hopefully, there's a way how you can be able to send messages
Uh,
to your friends and
So
stuff. So it'd be like, hey, let's get together, form a party real quick, because I see you playing Smash Brothers. I'm over here and just join my lobby. Like I just like the more options, the better. Because like PlayStation
so
and stuff has this mess, but you can still use Discord over there if you want on your PS5.
so you did bring up a good point about, the elephant in the room. The only other thing about hardware, the C button. So Nintendo's being real sneaky with this C button. If you didn't see, apparently this morning they updated all of the renders on the website to show off the C button. So the C button is now not even a secret. They're not hiding the C button anymore. It makes me think that they want to at least get people ready for this. And listen, I don't care. I agree with the person in chat. I don't necessarily care about voice chat. Like I hope it's an option for the people that do care. But I don't care about that. What I do want is at least some sort of messaging system. Press the C button, opens up party chat. That's what I want. I want the C button to be entirely encompassing all the communication features. I think the C could stand for communication
Yeah,
or
communication is communication, community,
communication.
something. Like we're bringing
I
back the what was it, the
not
me oh gosh, what was it on the Wii U? What was it, the
me.
me
It was
Miiverse,
Miiverse, but I think I
Miiverse.
don't. It's not
But
gonna be like I don't know. It's not gonna
it's
be
not going to be the
that
same
similar.
exact thing, but like an
But
evolved
like,
form of it. Just something with
yeah.
community and communication is all
Here's what
I'm
I think.
asking for.
I think community could mean a lot of things. Like you press that community button, it could bring up your party chats. It could bring up Nintendo Today for all of the latest Nintendo news in the community. Like that's a community thing. That's the Nintendo community. It could bring up, this is a pipe dream. It could bring up Nintendo Music. What if you could listen to anything from Nintendo Music while playing another game? Like almost like a music player, just but like universal for the entire system. Um, what do we think about a new version of Miiverse? Redbeard says in chat. Yeah, kind of. I do like the idea of Street Pass you mentioned. I don't know why they never brought back Street Pass, especially if they are expecting this thing to do like gangbusters. If they think it's gonna do really good, you kind of want like some kind of feature that has them interact.
Yeah, I mean, because you gotta differentiate yourself from the Switch 1 versus the Switch 2. So, I mean, having a feature somewhat similar like that, it could been an evolved form of a Street Pass. It's not necessarily gonna be everything one to one or whatever though.
Yeah,
But I think something that kinda does a little bit something extra, it's a brand new feature or whatever though, I could easily see that for the Switch 2, just to be able to differentiate itself. I think that's just the
yeah,
most important thing because we can't have another Wii to Wii U
yes.
scenario all
The
over
main
again.
thing the main thing is I just want actual messaging system, like I said, because let's just say I find a cool teammate. I find a teammate that I like playing with in Splatoon, or person that was really good in Mario Kart. I want to be able to message that person and see if they have a Discord or something. Like it just makes it. I know, obviously for security reasons they don't have that on base Switch. Just make it a parental controls option. Every other system has text chat.
Yeah, and
All I want.
Redbeard also brought up the fact that, themes and stuff, which I'm
Yes.
fully
Yes. I want
hopefully with
themes.
the rumored what was it? What's been on the street, Steven? Like, what, the memory of the system's at 12? Um
12 gigabytes of
12
RAM,
gigabytes of RAM
apparently.
because the current Switch right now has 4. I can see
Yeah.
why they never really put that mess into the baseline Switch that we have now because they
Well,
wanted the system to be kind of fast and
from
snappy. And I know the second you start putting little things like that on the system UI, you start naturally slowing it down. Like, gosh, even when you open up the eShop right now, or even that Nintendo Switch online app, that mess moves like molasses now,
listen,
though. And
the
I'm like,
Switch
brother,
the Switch interface is pathetic. If you didn't know, the Switch has 4 gigabytes of RAM. I think like one and a half of that is being allocated entirely to the home menu because you can bring it up at any time.
yeah.
So, really, only a little more than half of the system's RAM is being used for games. Kind of amazing what they've been able to do with 2 gigabytes of RAM, basically, if we're rounding down.
Yeah.
We'll see, though. I think the home menu could be a lot more interesting with that upgraded RAM. I would love that. I would love to just have themes. I'm not saying they're gonna do achievements, but what if doing a lot in like a certain game? What if doing challenges, doing your NSO challenges, maybe something hard gives you like a theme to commemorate? Or yeah, they could sell custom themes with different sound effects and effects. They could do tons of stuff. Yeah, the
Yeah.
eShop. Yeah, Redbeard says the eShop is so laggy. Great console for games, but give us those quality of life features. Yeah, I don't even use the eShop anymore.
Oh, no, heck
I
no.
just look online. I just look online and I see
Nintendo.com,
what's coming
you
out.
tell that sucker to download straight to the thing, and that be it.
Yeah,
No, that's a good talking point right there. Because another feature I would like to see is the fact that, like how you're able to open up the PlayStation app, and you're actually able to search games on your phone and then purchase
yeah.
them directly from your phone or do that. I would love to see an evolution of the Nintendo Switch Online app just to kinda be like a Nintendo app just in general or whatever though,
Well, I
to where you have that option where you can just browse through the eShop and download games and tell it to go straight to your system. I would like to see something like that as well.
I kind of hope they just put this all in one app. I think Nintendo
Basically an
today.
all-in-one app, and then in the
I
subcategory of it, you could have the Nintendo Switch Online app.
Yeah,
Like,
I think
it still don't need to go nowhere.
the only one that makes sense to have separate is music because people don't want to shift through a bunch of menus to get to their music.
Oh, yeah, no, that
Like
one will stay
Nin-
separate, or any of your
Nintendo,
other dedicated, like, gaming
yeah.
apps, like a Mario Run or whatever, though. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
Nintendo today should be combined with like just a Nintendo app to buy stuff. That just should be a thing. I don't know how that's not a thing yet. If we're talking about the system itself, though, back to the system. Yes, I hope the eShop is better. Yes, I hope the eShop has music. Finally, it's been 8 years and the eShop still has nothing. Who knows? I don't know. I just hope so. I'm assuming the eShop's gonna have a whole section dedicated to Switch One, like iconic Switch One games. Just maybe we'll get some deals. Maybe they'll bring back Nintendo Selects, just so some
Oh,
people getting a
heck no.
Switch Two for
You know they ain't gonna do that because 'cause you're still gonna
I
have
know they're
people
not gonna
with the
do it.
Switch
They make
1
more
and the Switch
money.
2, and, the best they'll do is just knock down a game to maybe 40
Yeah,
bucks. But you know good and well they ain't gonna give you no $20 games anymore. Shoot, PlayStation doesn't even do that no more. Like they did all the greatest hit stuff with the red banners and stuff. They don't even do that for their stuff no more. So you know good and
Yeah.
well Nintendo ain't.
Yeah. Redbeard says GameCube would be nice for NSO. We didn't bring up NSO yet. I guess I'll just give my predictions on that. You can chime in if you think anything else.
Yeah,
Everyone's saying DS, 3DS. I think we need to see more. If like the casting rumor is true, which I don't think it is, maybe DS. But I think GameCube is a lock. There's no goddamn way this thing can't handle GameCube emulation with 12 gigabytes of RAM and like the specs it has as PS4 level specs. No reason they have not figured out GameCube emulation yet. I would love to play Double Dash online, like in a real, like official way.
look,
Especially
Double
the
Dash
GameCube
Online.
Mario parties. Like, listen, that would be an amazing way to get people to get Switch 2 right off the bat.
Double Dash
Like, get them.
Online, Steven, it's a dumb rap. Forget about the new games that they're putting down up on there. Forget about Mario Kart 9. Look, we're getting all the boys together and we're playing some Double Dash, all
Well,
right?
I'm not.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't even think. I don't think Double Dash would release at launch of the GameCube
no,
service.
no,
Nin-
it probably
Nin-
well,
Nintendo
hold on,
doesn't.
did they do hold on, did they
Nin-
put out Mario Kart 64 at launch for NSO? I'm
they
pretty sure they
probably
did.
did, but I don't think they want to even chance anything overshadowing the next Mario Kart game.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah,
that does
we
bring
do
up a
need to
good
see
point.
more
Yeah.
DS games. Yeah, Redbeard's right. Like we did have DS games on Wii U, which I liked that, but even DS games, like some of those games had online. So if DS is eventually brought over, I would love to see the online services restored in some of those games.
Yeah. I feel
Yeah,
like you do have to bring a brand new system, whether it be GameCube
you
or
need one.
even if you skip GameCube temporarily until you circle back around to what
Yeah.
no, no, no. I know they've been doing stuff in sequence. You know what? Now that I think about it, what they gave us NES, they gave us Super Nintendo, then they turned around and gave us Game what was it? Did they give us Game Boy and no 64 and then they went back and gave us Game Boy and Game Boy Advance at the same time. So for the most part, it's been kind of in order. So I don't think they would jump over and go straight to DS
Well,
or Wii before addressing the elephant in the room with GameCube. Yes, I know you have games out there where they can go through and remaster
okay,
or resell them or something like that though, but mm,
that's not stopping Nintendo. They can release a game and then still do a remake of it. They've done that before. Like it genuinely does not matter. You could get Link's Awakening on the damn expansion pack, or you can just play Link's Awakening remake.
oh yeah, no, they no, no, they can always do that. I was just talking about
Yeah,
in general them releasing those systems, not necessarily the games, but the systems to the NSO app. They've been
we'll
usually going
see.
in order, so I feel like they probably will say something about the GameCube before moving over and doing any other kind of systems like
Well,
DS or something. Which that's going to be the
yeah,
trickiest thing
and
with the mouse feature. That can kind of simplify some things. I don't know the way how they're gonna do with the dual screen aspect
yeah.
though.
Now,
There's still some things to kind of figure out.
now this is crazy. Like a lot of people are saying DS. Yes, DS could work on one screen. I just feel like it would be a really like kneecapped way to play that console. I think yeah, they're not gonna do it, but I think the best possible way that they could do DS games again would be to do a DS Classic or something. Like I know they stopped doing the classic systems, but like a DS feels most natural in its original form factor. Like a DS Classic would be so nice, but they're never gonna do it.
That's too
So
expensive. No, that's too
I
complicated.
it probably is, man. I know. It
Or
disappoints me.
they
But
could pull something like a Sony and do like what was it like the PlayStation Portal or
yeah,
whatever, sell you a tablet screen that's like an attachment and locks it in
yeah.
onto your current Switch
But
too,
like
and
okay.
then do something with that C button and it's like, hey, it's communicating with another screen and
Well
bada bing bada boom,
a
there's
lot
your DS and 3DS stuff.
okay. A lot of people are saying that you're gonna need a second Switch in order to do DS. I think that's stupid. I'm pretty sure, knowing the technology, you'll be able to just cast your Switch to the dock wirelessly. You should just be able to transmit a signal, kind of like an Apple AirPlay. Have like Apple AirPlay esque thing where you're transmitting to the dock and you still have the second screen in your hands
Now if they do that, that
with
solves
your own
all the
Switch 2.
DS, and at that point you have a Wii U
Yeah,
that was
like
doing the DS stuff, and at that point,
which
perfectly solved.
is fine. And
But that
like
only
and
works
that
for
that
home console though. It wouldn't
well
work
yeah,
with if you're trying to take it on the go. But
and they could make that, I don't know, like obviously that's not going to be a main feature that's used for a bunch of games, but Nintendo could use it for some wacky stuff with their own IPs.
that's
Like that
true.
doesn't
But
even
just
like
don't go
like
too
your
crazy with it.
like your Labo equivalent is what I'm saying. You could have your Labo equivalent where you have something going on the main Switch while something different is happening on the TV. I think Nintendo nowadays could do a lot more with that idea.
Oh yeah, that's
We'll see
true.
though. There's tons. But on that note, I think we should start talking about the actual games
Okay,
because
yeah, because
like
I
the
was gonna say
system
we
itself.
went on
Wait,
that
wait,
road
wait,
for a quite hot minute
wait.
though.
One thing we have to discuss: price and release date, real quick.
Oh,
I'm
I
gonna
guess you
I'm
want to
gonna
go
go
ahead and throw
first.
that out here. All right.
Real quick, I think it's gonna release on June 12th, which is a Thursday. They've been doing that recently. June 12th, and it's gonna be $400. I think
I
Nintendo is missing out on a huge opportunity if they don't do 400.
No, I think it's 400 because at most it would be 450. I'm leaning with you with the 400 because when you get too close to that 500, you start getting too close to the comparison with the PS5, and
Well, even then,
I know they want to kind of dodge that. So that's where my gut's saying with price point. If I'm talking about an actual release date, what do you say, Steven? You said June 12th?
June 12th, which is a Thursday.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna one up you. I'm gonna say it's June 19th. Not that
They're not
early,
gonna
but
release it. They're not releasing it on holidays, Ard.
what are you talking about? June 19th. June 19th ain't no holiday.
Juneteenth.
Oh,
Yeah, they're not doing it on a holiday, but they
all
also
right,
probably don't
fine
want to do
then.
it too
June
late.
26th then. June
Okay.
26th.
Yeah, mid to late June is the perfect time. I think June 12th is perfect because it kind of gets out right before the summer, right before the literal first day of summer. You're going to have that thing come out. And like everyone's going to be on summer break, they're going to be going outside of the house. You know, people are going to be out and about on vacations, this and that. Switch to the summer. Everyone's going to have time to play it. Uh yeah, end of June could also work. Uh Yeah, June 5th is right at Summer Games Fest, but I think that works because they could be showing off
Steal,
Switch 2
steal,
games
steal
at
the
Summer
steal
Fest.
the limelight from the Jeff Keighley
Yeah,
show and say, hey, look here,
yeah,
y'all. Forget about all these games he's talking about.
yeah,
We got the
basically.
real stuff here up on the street. No, yeah, no, basically, yeah.
And
Hmm.
also I think it makes a lot more sense because they could release the system on June 12th and then they could do a direct later in June showing off stuff that's going to release after the system's launch, which is what they did for the Switch. Switch released in March. They had a direct in April 2017. So I think it's very likely they just release the damn system early in the June and then just do some updates later in the June. We'll
It's
see
kind of
though.
crazy. Regardless,
Um,
like we're kind of leaning on the fact that now this system could be from the announcement of what was it, April? well, What is it? Yeah, it's gonna be April 2nd when we get to see this the Nintendo Direct to the point where we're saying mid to late June. That's a 2 month turnaround. I don't think we ever seen
yeah,
in the
they did that with the
system.
Switch.
No. I don't think we ever seen that with a system. Well, I get well, actually no, I guess
January
no, never
12th
mind.
to
I guess
March 3rd.
January to that. I don't know why though, but I feel like that one felt like a much longer thing because when we saw
Okay.
the little thing with October or something like
So
that
it's
though,
what
but
we did see it in October, but you got to remember October to March is only 5 months. January to June would also be 5 months.
I guess so. So I guess when you put that
And
in perspective, I guess.
also remember this, yeah, the Redbeard's right. The Switch One was marked. What am I saying? I can't talk today. The Switch One was rushed into the market because the Wii U was a sinking ship. This system actually had time to release. They definitely delayed this system because Mario Kart was not ready yet, which we're gonna get to that. But like they definitely had time to get a software lineup ready. Okay, so I think that perfectly works. And also, the Switch One wait was a lot longer because the Wii U's last year was barren. Like you basically had it was like having no water for weeks and then finally finding an oasis is what it felt like when the NX got revealed. Okay,
Yeah, that's true. That's
so
true.
guess what? I'm fine with this. Like the I'm fine with it releasing 2 months after because Nintendo knows for damn well sure that we've been waiting these 2.5 months very patiently, and we deserve a big blowout, and we deserve this system soon. I don't
Yeah.
see it releasing any later, especially because we already know Nintendo has fucking nothing. They have nothing for the next 3 months.
Mm. Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, while I caught you there, because there's still another major thing we got to talk about with this thing. That's the potential games that they could show out.
Yeah.
Now, let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room. The only guaranteed thing we know going up in here with 100% with 100% guarantee of it absolutely showing up is the Mario Kart fill in the blank, whatever it's called. For all sakes and
All right.
purposes, we've been leaning on this channel as we've been calling it
Just
Mario
call
Kart
it
9.
9.
So
It's
I think they're gonna that's gonna be like one of the very first few games they're gonna show. I'm pretty sure that's gonna be the first game they're gonna show. If and
I think
there's no if and nor buts about it. As much as Mario Kart 8 has sold between the combination of all the Wii U sales and the Switch sales, like gosh dang, that sucker has been a juggernaut
uh,
to the fullest though. On doing some crazy stuff like
uh,
almost like a GTA
Zard,
thing, like this consistently selling. Yeah.
do you think it will be a launch title? Can we agree on that?
I'm leaning I think there's a good chance of it being a launch title, but then part of me says Nintendo could hold off on this by like a couple of months because, like, what in March of 2017, that's when you had the system that came out for the Switch, and it was what a month later before they gave you Mario Kart in the month of April because
Yeah,
they
but
can
at the same
kind of use it as
time,
like an extra push, momentum push
like I
after
would
the
have
day one adopters come in though. But I wouldn't put it past them to have it as a day one release. I don't
listen.
know.
I would agree, but this is gonna sound completely crazy. Mario Kart, if Mario Kart 8 Deluxe released at launch of the Switch, it would have been completely cannibalized by Breath of the Wild. Like Breath of the Wild was such a big phenomenon. That game needed like a whole ass month and a half for people to actually beat it. Like Breath of the Wild's a special case. They probably would have done Mario Kart close, if not at the launch of the system. Otherwise, I think we don't know about any big game. There could, of course, be a big game that we don't know about that's going to release in 2 months, but Nintendo never does that. Nintendo
Nah.
at the most gives like 4 months between announcement and release. Mario Kart,
No, no.
I, listen. They showed the damn system with Mario
3
Kart.
months, 3
Every
months. Because remember, if
Yes,
you go
okay.
back to the last direct, like what was it, June of last year? Remember, we had Echo's Wisdom, Mario Party,
You're right.
Superstars Jamboree, and stuff. Echo's Wisdom released in September. The direct was in June. That was a 3-month turnaround.
Yeah, but at the same, yeah, I just think that think about it. You have to think about this from a consumer perspective, like a regular guy, just a regular guy that doesn't look at gaming news all the time. System was revealed with Mario Kart. Makes sense to release with Mario Kart.
And I'll
It just
also
makes sense.
and I'll throw this out there because now that we talked about like how usually Nintendo likes to have 3 months of build up, Mario Kart speaks for itself. Like that will pass around word of mouth like liquid fire. It won't take much to get that into everybody's ears though. But however, in terms of any other game, you usually would need a little bit more of a build up. But I think Metroid Prime 4, since we saw it a good couple of times, I think that almost solidifies my hope of that's also going to be a launch day title because that's already been talked about. It's already been passed around. So that can easily fill up in the void right there where you wouldn't be able to do a quicker turnaround from
Yeah.
a time when it's like, hey, this is when it's been revealed and this is the actual release date for it though. So that's where I'm leaning right now. Mario Kart and Metroid Prime 4 will be the launch day titles.
All right. I'm gonna lightning around this. I think Switch 2 is gonna release with Mario Kart in June. I think Metroid Prime 4 is gonna be that game that releases a month later to keep people engaged. I think either August. I think August will have a new IP. I think they're gonna show off some kind of new IP akin to Arms. Not exactly that, but just some kind of new IP on that level. just to show off new ideas and stuff.
Oh,
And then I also think, I think we're also gonna get some other stuff. I think in September we're gonna get Legends ZA, and it's like I think that game will have that month to itself. For Switch 2 exclusives, it will be a slow month. October and November will probably get new games. I think 3D Mario is absolutely coming out in holiday. 3D Mario is absolutely the holiday title. I don't see any way it's not. I'm putting all my money on that. And then maybe something at the end of the year. Maybe Xenoblade's ready. Maybe they have a Xenoblade game they haven't announced yet, which I doubt it, but we'll see. I think they have something. Remember, Fire Emblem could also just come out like randomly within
oh,
all of these games.
oh,
Which
now you're
Fire Emblem,
talking.
with
You're talking.
listen, remember Fire Emblem got a lot of popularity on Switch One. They might want to just get that audience on the Switch Two immediately, knowing them. We'll see though. There's a ton of stuff they could do, and that's what's exciting. We could predict all we want, but Nintendo can literally do anything because there's a lot of franchises that haven't gotten new games in a while.
Okay. All right. I
So
like how you rapid fire that.
we will see.
I gotta rapid fire mine real quick. All right, so we're gonna get Metro Prime
Okay.
4 and we're gonna get Mario Kart. Those are gonna be the launch day titles some
Okay.
point in the month of June. That's what I'm expecting. About a couple of months after that, because I imagine they're gonna want to sit on those games for a little bit of time or something like that. Then you can get hit with some kind of a Zelda game. I don't know if it's not gonna be like a big major Zelda or whatever though, but maybe Grezzo, they had something else cooking besides Echoes of Wisdom or whatever though. Maybe they got like a remake of something. Like I imagine that's gonna be Switch 1 and Switch 2. Because all the games that are announced in the Switch 2 presentation, they might not only just be purely Switch 2 exclusive games. I imagine there's gonna be a little bit of tie over where they say, hey, here's a Switch 2 SKU, here's also a Switch 1 SKU. Kind of like the same way if y'all remember the game. Oh gosh, what was the name of that game? Sushi Striker, The Way of Sushido. That mess came out on 3DS and it came out on Switch. Something similar like that. I'm expecting like that. Some point around the fall time. I'm thinking like October ish. I know that's where I feel like we're gonna get our release for the new 3D Mario. There's no good way that you're not putting out another 3D Mario before the basically before the end of what would be the holiday season. Like that will
Yeah.
bring in your second rush of customers after you get the early day one adopters during the middle of the summer and stuff like that. I'm fully expecting us to get some kind of reveal, a tease, or maybe even a release date for Monolith Soft. Because I know they've been working hard. I mean, yes, I don't know which team they had working on Xenoblade Chronicles X, but I'm thinking they had another team in the pipeline that was working on their next big major thing. It's going to be Xeno
Definitely.
something. I don't know what it is,
Um,
but it's going to be Xeno something. I'm fully expecting them to show up
like
in this presentation as well.
Xenoblade X couldn't have taken that much work, man. Like I
No,
know they did a lot of cool stuff with that game, and they gave it like an epilogue, but it was nowhere near like the scope of Future Connected for Xenoblade One.
yeah. So
Like they did a lot to that game.
yeah, so that's what I was kind of leaning on right now. And then I feel like now listen to me real quick though. I feel like we're gonna
Okay.
get some kind of collaboration with a big major other studio that's not necessarily Nintendo studio, but they're gonna help bring out another IP. I'm saying we're getting the
Like
sequel to Astral Chain. I think you're gonna come out with a
oh
little
yeah.
bit of a flair like that. I don't know if it's
I,
gonna make it within this calendar year, but it could be early for the next calendar year, probably around springish or something like that.
yeah.
I'm just gonna go ahead and throw
Yeah.
that out
I don't
there.
know. I don't know why. I thought you were gonna say something akin to Mario plus Rabbids, like a
Oh
collab with
gosh,
another
no.
game
Heck
studio.
no. No, not nothing like that. And then I like how you said Fire Emblem because for the longest time we've been hearing things about genealogy of a holy war, but I feel
I
like
don't.
maybe Nintendo's been sitting on that one because they know, hey, we could only put it out on Switch 1 or we can take that what would be a little bit more of a mature rated game. Kind of like how Three Houses kind of blew up for us with that. And notice how when you went from Three Houses to Engage, audience was still there, just not as big as Three Houses. Genealogy of a Holy War would definitely do that. I heard some stuff happens in that game where depending on the way how the art style is going to be playing out, like maybe if it's similar to like Fire Emblem Echo, Shadows of Valentia, because that was a remake of Fire Emblem Gaiden back from the Super Famicom and stuff. If they hit some similar wavelengths with that in terms of the way how they handle that remake, just make it a Switch 2 exclusive game to say, hey, if you want your strategy RPG, you got to buy this brand new system or whatever, though. I
They
say
could.
I, that could be a fall potential release. I'm thinking that will be some point this year if they do something like that. And at that point, you already have a pretty stellar cast of games and stuff like that. Do you get Sakurai to come out here saying what he's been working on as the next Switch whatever project he's working on, which will probably be a Switch 2 game. Do you get him to show up on here? I don't know. The chance is still out there though. Do you get Anuma walking out up on here saying, "Hey, we got the next big major 3D Zelda game in the works"? I don't know. You're not gonna get anything
Oh,
Splatoon related. That's gonna be another at
oh,
least a couple
definitely
of
not.
years or something like
Wait,
that. But Mario Kart will keep you occupied. Smash Brothers, there's a chance they could say something, but I imagine they'll wait until next year to do something like that. I mean, the possibilities are
oh,
endless though, but I know they got some stuff cooking.
that kind of makes me think. Do you think they're gonna do any general announcements? They're just gonna be like, "Oh, we have this in development." Do
No,
you
I'm
think they're
I'm
gonna do
I'm fully
something like that?
expecting that. Even if Enuma were to
Because
come out on the stage and say something like that,
I
uh,
think Nintendo wants to solidify their success. I think they're gonna announce Zelda, Smash, or Animal Crossing here. Whether or not they show us something is a whole nother.
they're not gonna announce the Animal Crossing. I'll tell you
Yes,
that.
I think you say
No,
that, but
no, they
Splatoon,
ain't gonna do
Splatoon,
that. They got Tomodachi Life coming up, man. That sucker
that's
sold seven
that's
million. I'm
I
like,
don't
nah, they're
I
gonna
don't
be
know.
fine. They're gonna be
It's
fine. The
very
social people are gonna
it's
be fine.
that's Tomodachi Life's a completely different audience from Animal Crossing. Tomodachi Life is for the weirdos, while
You said
while
it again.
Animal Crossing is for your more basic, like the more basic family friendly stuff. Tomodachi Life, you have to have a lot more creativity to enjoy that. Like it's a very like gimmicky game. Like I don't know, it really depends on the amount of work you put into it. Kind of like Metopia in a way. Like if you want to make funny me's. Either way, I think Animal Crossing is by far the one they're gonna go with. Like, yeah, Zelda and Smash are definitely like they could show us a tease at the next Zelda, and Smash is definitely a little too far away, but they're gonna show off one of those. They're gonna just give us a little hint of things to come past the launch year, I think. Besides that, though, is that like all on first parties? We just, we think that we're gonna get like the nice holiday title and a good launch lineup.
Yeah, I'll say that's probably gonna be it. Like they're gonna keep a lot of the emphasis strongly with first party. I'll throw a few third parties out there because those are always harder to predict. But I
Yeah.
do feel pretty confident on a few of the things. I think Square Enix will definitely show up.
Oh
Square
yeah,
Enix,
Final Fantasy
Capcom,
VII.
and yeah, I think between those two. But definitely Square Enix. I'm thinking Final Fantasy VII Remake will be fully shown. They might also say a tease about Rebirth coming, but we won't get a look on it running on Switch 2 hardware or whatever, though.
It runs on Steam Deck. It can definitely run on Switch too.
Yeah, so but they might just want to, keep the horses ahead in the race and just say, "Hey, look, for now, you got to play this game first for the sake of the story." So we're just gonna only talk to y'all about remake. I fully expect that, and I'm also gonna throw this out there because they technically brought it up for the first time in one of their what was it in the January presentation in 2017. I think we're gonna get another good and a solid first look at Dragon Quest 12 at this presentation. Like that. You talk about getting Japanese people fired up. They're already going to get fired up for the Switch because they like that as their go-to system over like some systems like the PS5 or whatever over there in Japan. You talk about another mainline Dragon Quest game and we finally get to hear news on it for like the first time after a few years. Oh man, you're gonna get some people stoked and excited. Me and
Oh
Sanki will
yeah,
be through the moon seeing that as well. But like, my goodness,
definitely very interesting. It's stuff you could do there.
so yeah, that's all I'm gonna lean on in terms of third parties. I mean, there could be some other stuff like an Elden Ring or something that they wanted to kind of give like a you know a good shine to like some very popular what would be considered as like almost last gen or some current gen stuff from like the PS4 slash the PS5. I could see that coming over though, but I wouldn't expect them to go too crazy with third party stuff. I think the heavy emphasis will be on first party publishing or some of the partners that they already had some locked up deals with. That's all I'm expecting.
Yeah. I think for third parties, I have a lot more ideas of what they could do. Like Elden Ring. Did you mention Elden Ring? I might have just
Yeah,
not hear you say
yeah,
that.
that was like one of the other ones I just kind of
Yeah.
quickly threw out
No.
there.
I think Elden Ring. I think ports to the other Souls games. Final Fantasy VII remake. You said. Halo is a big one, and I think is absolutely happening. Halo Master Chief Collection is absolutely gonna be here. What do you think about that? Do you think it's likely?
I think there's a good chance of it. Will it show
I
up? I
I
mean, it's kind of
I think that's a
debatable, but I
big
that'd be a
holy
statement. That'd
shit.
be a
That's a
statement from Microsoft to actually say, "Hey, look, we're gonna be here supporting this system. Here's our mascot. Have at it."
yeah.
That'd be something right there.
Yeah, that's big. I hope Hi-Fi Rush comes, but that we'll see. Really depends on if they want to. But listen, the holy shit announcement absolutely is Halo. Like that's such a big announcement, and especially if this thing is gonna have more advanced multiplayer features, what a perfect game to test it with.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I don't know if you'll get anything kind of similar with
It also
PlayStation
definitely
announcing some stuff, which we kind of forgot about mentioning this. Everybody's Golf and Patapon, those were PlayStation IPs that were announced in the Switch One Direct. And I forgot to even mention about that though, because like for a lot of people that probably flew underneath the radar though. So PlayStation starting to support them, support the Nintendo console a little bit more. Like you also have like the Horizon Lego game also show up on there though, and they're putting some of
I
their lower tier stuff. Like, who's to say they don't go back and do remasters or remakes of some of their older IPs? Because remember that Japanese studio for PlayStation's gone. You might as well go ahead and just have
how
take your
about
older stuff and just put it on the Switch. I mean,
how about this? I have an idea. What if we get Ratchet and Clank, maybe even whether it's the 2016 game or Rift Apart. What if we get like another bigger, the more demanding thing from them that they might be willing to give up? Catapon was already like a weird one, but guess what? We got it. I think Ratchet and Clank definitely feels like it would fit right alongside some of the Nintendo IPs
that
we
would
already
be
got.
crazy if they do that. Because I do like myself some Ratchet and Clank. Like I played through Rift Apart. I love that game on the PS5.
And
That would be wild though.
it's
Mm.
it's never gonna happen, but imagine how much of a flex it would be to get Marvel's Spider-Man on there.
No, that for sure ain't ever gonna.
It
We
isn't.
can go
It's
ahead and rule
not.
that one
But
out.
it's on Steam. It is on Steam. It's not like they don't like to share. It's just dependent. They just like to share with random people sometimes. I think Nintendo has a ton of collabs that they've been trying to get into the works. Nintendo, remember, this thing is projected to be the best, like fastest selling console of all time. This thing is projected to make more sales in its first like weekend than the Switch did in like 2 months. This thing is going to be crazy if projections are to be believed.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and throw this out here. I think within the first month of this system being out, I'm gonna go ahead and throw out the number right now. I think it's possible. I think in Japan alone, it's gonna sell at least 3.5 million units. I think in Japan alone, it's gonna sell about 3.5. Go ahead and bookmark this mess. We're gonna come back and dig up the stats later on, though. It'll be 3.5 million that we're gonna sell in the first month on the market in Japan, and then it's gonna almost, hopefully, it doesn't come down to the lottery system or whatever down over there, though. In the European region, I'm thinking it's gonna sell about 2-ish million, maybe get close to three. And then I
Yeah,
think over here in the US is gonna be kind of close to 5-ish. So all in all, I think after the end of the first month, this is wild numbers though. Wild numbers. I'm thinking early one day one adoptions, it's gonna be selling close to 10 million units in the first month alone.
I think that's
I
fair.
that's
I
kind of
think
crazy thinking about it though.
I think here's the
But
thing. I don't think the Switch 2 is going to surpass the Switch 1, but I do think it's going to sit like right next to it. I think the Switch 2 could easily reach 20 million by the end of the year.
oh yeah, no, because in during like I think the heat of the Switch one, it was selling at best 20 million within its given fiscal year. So that's definitely
Well, yeah.
possible. This depends on
Uh,
how much they got floating around with
yeah,
units.
it really depends. And if they do have a fucking 3D Mario ready for holiday and a Mario Kart close to launch at least, yeah,
That's your
there you
two
go.
major incentives to
That's
bring everybody into the fold right there.
listen,
We ain't
that
playing
that's
around with like Sony and stuff where it's like, oh, That new Mario Kart 9, you can still play it on the Switch One. That
And
new
that's
3D
why,
Mario, you can still play it on the Switch One. They ain't pulling no punches like that.
yeah, they're not gonna do that too much. And I do think they're gonna announce like I said, either Animal Crossing, Zelda. I think they're gonna announce a game that appeals more to core players. Because remember, Mario Kart is gonna get it's gonna get everybody. 3D Mario is gonna get your family audience. And then you gotta have something that specifically caters to like the core audience. I think just announcing that Zelda is coming is definitely good enough. And another thing I think we haven't even talked about is Switch 1 Switch 2 editions, which was a thing that accidentally leaked out 2 days ago. Is that there will be games that are Switch 2 editions on Switch 2, which kind of implies it's a Switch 1 game but upgraded.
In which
You
I
think we're
know
gonna
if they were gonna show that off, I think the major game that you would use to play that off of would be Breath of the Wild because everybody and their mama
yeah.
knows about it. It's the first game that was ever on the Nintendo Switch. So
Oh,
you show that game running at like a solid 60 FPS or something like that. It looks a little bit better. They won't go too much into mumbo jargon in terms of like
oh,
DLSS or stuff
oh
like
yeah.
that with the AI and stuff like that. If you want those fine details, you're going to have to wait for either Digital Foundry or something like that, or you have to actually do some information on Nintendo's
Oh yeah.
website itself.
So
But they're just going to say it's that Nintendo magic. They might give it some kind of fancy name, like
yeah.
how the PSSR is like a thing with the PS5 Pro or whatever. They might give it a certain kind of name or something just to simplify things for all things considered. But I'm fully expecting something to be like that.
Zard,
I
come on.
don't know. Hold up. I don't know whether or not they're gonna charge for you to be able to have
Okay.
these Switch 2 editions. That's the one thing I'm trying to make the prediction right now. Don't know if they do
I
the $10 upgrade path or they'll just say, we'll just give it to you for free when you stick the game up in there or what. But
You want to
I
know
think
my
it's gonna be a
opinion?
game by game basis, depending on how much extra work they have to do, or if the system itself just naturally unlocks some things when you pop in that cartridge.
You want to know my opinion, Zard? They hardly ever put Switch 1 games on sale anyways. Like Breath of the Wild, if you get a new copy, is still like $60. I think they're gonna pull a power play. I think they're gonna immediately. They're just gonna be like, "Hey, your Switch 1 games immediately upgraded on Switch 2. Any game that gets a specific dedicated version, you'll get for free. Any game that has performance updates will just be on there when you get the cart in. Like some games, like Echoes of Wisdom, will just run better without any patches.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
that's the
it's
way to
all gonna be
go, and
free.
then if they do some extra work behind it, then maybe you do the $10
Just
upgrade.
remember, Nintendo is scared to confuse consumers. They don't want to confuse consumers and make them charge. They don't want to charge extra for better performance. Come on, this is Nintendo we're talking about. Those Sony fucks, they'll pay
I was about to say they
$15
technically
for
did some
extra.
upgrade stuff when you went from the Wii to the Wii U, but I know that was a little bit
That
more
was
so the
Virtual
virtual
Console.
console, but
That was it.
that ain't I ain't gonna put it
And
past them.
and guess what? The Wii U failed, so I'm not really worried about what the Wii U did. Yeah, that was definitely one of the reasons. But people having to pay to upgrade their virtual console library was dumb. I think Nintendo would be extremely smart to just say, "Hey, we're gonna give you, just the upgrades will be free. Just
Yeah.
upgrade it, just as long as you put the game into the Switch 2, you can start downloading the Switch 2 edition." And that will either upgrade your virtual game card or the update will just be on the physical card or like, on the system when you insert the physical card. We will see, Zard. I think there's a very real possibility that they just give it to us for free. And if they don't, if it's like $5 and it's a per game basis, not a big deal. It just better be a substantial upgrades. Breath of the Wild, if they're gonna charge me for an upgrade, it better run at a consistent 60 frames with upscale 4K. I don't know. It better be good. It better be running good because Breath of the Wild is a game that's literally running on 2013 hardware.
Yeah. Oh
Like
man.
this, I think the Switch is based off of 2013 hardware. There is no reason why it can't run as good as it should. So we'll see. But That brings a lot of good opportunities. I can't wait to see if any developers actually patch the games to unlock the frame rate. I want to see Kirby in the Forgotten Land. I want to see Astral Chain. I want to see Xenoblade. I want to see those games at 60.
Oh shoot! Wait, did you say? Oh, you already said Age of Calamity. Yeah, because that one definitely. Oh shoot!
That
That'd
too.
be like
And
that'd be like one
you
of
know
the
what?
first few I'm gonna put up in the system because I was like, gosh dang, that one
And you know
really
what?
needed it.
This has been a rumor recently. I want to see some games at 120. I think the Switch 2 is not going to focus on resolution. I think it's going to focus on making the games smoother. I think Mario Kart 9 will support 120 hertz
You know what?
as an option.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, and this is gonna like one of the last few predictions I'll make because we got to wrap this
Yeah,
show up.
yeah,
I got to hit
that's
the gym
fine.
in the morning. But it would be so funny if Nintendo says, "Hey, thanks to the AI scaling, whatever mumbo jargon they want to use, if they somehow come out and say, look, these games are gonna run at a 4K 60 thanks to DLSS, the magic stuff with Nvidia with their card or whatever they got up in there though." That to me is gonna be so funny. But
Well,
not even Sony and themselves have managed to figure that mess out yet.
well,
I'm
no,
just gonna go
no.
ahead. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw that out there. I'm just gonna
Well,
go
it's
ahead and
going to
throw
be
it out there.
upscaled.
I know
No,
it's
that's what
upscale though, but for the casual
Sony can do
consumer,
that.
they're all I
Yeah.
know for the casual consumer, they're just gonna be like, wait, what? But I know when the casual consumer looks at Sony and stuff, look, they always had that toggle of you want performance, you want or you want fidelity. When with
Nintendo's not doing
Nintendo,
that.
they're not gonna do that. They're just gonna give it to exactly as it is. If
Yeah.
it's upscaling, whatever, but if it comes across as 4K 60, oh man, I'm gonna laugh to the
Well, it's
moon
going
and
to
back.
be
I'm just
it's
saying.
well, it's going to be 1080 upscaled to 4K, or they might just make it 1440, which 1440 does look nice. 1440 60 for every single game would be the dream.
Hmm.
I'd be
Uh,
fine with that.
yeah,
That would give you just enough detail. That would be really nice looking. Like, we'll see. But besides that, the technical side, Nintendo's not going to go into that. Nintendo's going to use the broad term advanced hardware. Thanks to advanced hardware included in the Switch 2, we can do this.
yeah. So I mean,
They're
honestly,
not going to go into that.
there's a lot of cool stuff that's probably going to be coming in this Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. Once again, just a reminder for everybody that the Direct is going to air on Wednesday of this week, April 2nd at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time for me. It'll be 9 o'clock for you, Steven. And do your research on whatever time zone you happen to be living in the world or whatever, though.
6 o'clock for Pacific. I know that much. For like West Coast of the U.S. is 6 o'clock.
Yeah. And at least for me, I took off on that day. And so I'll be sitting at home. I'll be watching the direct. I will be live streaming the thing. So I won't be showing my face or nothing like that. But I'll be live streaming. You'll hear my commentary over the video and stuff like that. Steven, are you gonna be watching this solo or are
So
you
I will be off. I don't know if I'll be in another chat reacting to it if you want to join us in there or how we're gonna do it.
okay? All
We'll
right,
see.
but
It kind of just depends
at
on
least I'll
circumstances.
be doing that because I kind of want. I feel like I might pop off during a couple of moments during that direct. So I do want to have that footage captured somewhere or whatever. Regardless to say it's gonna be a busy day. We might, as soon as the direct is done, we might have to do like some emergency recordings, whatever though. So expect content out the wazoo on that day of on the direct though. But I will be live streaming it here on my channel. So if you want to see my reactions in the moment or see them after the fact, you will be able to look forward to all of that amazing content as well though. But yeah, literally T minus less than 2 days now by the time that a lot of y'all will be listening to this. And it's just kind of crazy to believe that, hey, we're this close to getting the next generation of Nintendo hardware. Look, you only get this feeling once every good decade or something like that, though, and it just happens to be the time that we're about to get experience with this again, though. But any last lingering thoughts, Steven, before we go ahead and try to wrap everything up?
I didn't really say anything about what I think is gonna be in the new 3D Mario or Mario Kart, so I'll just be really quick. I think Mario Kart 9 is gonna have 24. We already seen like 24 racers. I think that is gonna be like a mode. I think it's gonna be like a default. I think hopefully they'll make it so every track supports 24 racers, and that's just a new thing. Maybe you could still change it to 12 for like a traditional type mode. I think 200cc will be in by default. I think the roster is going to be much bigger to accommodate 24 players. I think we're going to have like a roster of like 40 to 50 characters from the start.
Oh yeah.
And I think the game will have some big gimmick. Maybe it could be relating to the weird item we seen in that gas station during the trailer. Maybe there will be some kind of fuel system. Maybe not,
Pit
like maybe not.
stops. Pull this thing
I
like
don't.
Lightning
Well,
McQueen.
I don't think it's gonna be pit stops. I think it will just be certain areas where you can quote unquote either refuel and people are gonna fight over getting the item, or it's gonna be like a specific type of fuel that gives you an ability. We're gonna see what they do. I just hope it's fun because it looks really cool. Mario
Mhm.
Kart's looking great. Um, 3D Mario. I think I'm just gonna go out on a limb. I don't think it's gonna be one continuous open world. But I do think it will be very similar to Bowser's Fury, where it will be a nice giant open area, and from that area you go into the kingdoms. Like for example, like I think it's gonna be like Mario Odyssey, where you have like these like sandbox areas, but they're all connected through one big hub world that you explore. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
Peach's Castle on steroids is what I'm saying.
Oh
Isle
yeah,
Delfino, but you
that
don't.
would make a ton of sense because
Well, yeah,
as long as you're able to diversify the lands and the different topography and stuff from like your ice area to wherever your desert area is at to your aquatic life and stuff, like be able to have just enough separation. Because I think Bowser's Fury was cool going all of it with it being all open though, but it's like to have those clear distinctions, like we didn't really see it. Like it still felt like an aquatic life, all things
yeah,
considering. Unless you went super high up in elevation, then it kind of got a little snowy or something like that, though.
yeah. And you know what? I'm gonna try to guess the theme.
Now you're doing too much because you know you're gonna be
No,
way off in guessing this
well,
theme.
guess what? That's what a prediction is for. I think, just to make this game different from every other Mario game, I think they could be going for some kind of technological theme. I was gonna say, or something a little more on the high tech side. Well, or just something unique. I think they're gonna have some kind of unique gimmick throughout the entire game, just like Odyssey again. I don't know what they'll do though. I don't. By the way, I don't think it's gonna be Odyssey 2. I think that ship sailed a while ago.
Mm, okay. All
I don't
righty.
know. That's just me rambling. If I'm right, I'm right. But either way, 3D Mario, I think is 100% a lock.
Alrighty. Well, I think that's basically gonna do it in terms of all of our predictions for the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. If you want to hear more, I have a separate video out there on my channel. If you just want to hear just a little bit extra stuff that I didn't include in this prediction thing, though. I did iterate on some of them a little bit, but there were some that I did put up in that one that I don't think I mentioned up in there. So that's just a little bit of heads up on that, though. But all things considering, make sure you have those notifications turned on. If you have Wario64 on Twitter, you better turn them notifications on because gosh dang, if Nintendo decides to drop the pre-orders after that direct, ooh, you best be ready. Cause there ain't no way I'm missing out on getting this console on day one. That's all I gotta say though. But all right, that's gonna basically do it in terms of all the predictions, and that's gonna do it in terms of my ZardCast episode 101. That's a great way to kickstart off the next set of episodes coming right off the heels of episode 100 though I must say though, so we're good times are rolling. I don't know when the next podcast should ideally happen 2 weeks from now though, but depending on what is announced, well, depending on whether or not maybe me and Steven just record a discussional video and we just throw that in the in between or something, or I don't know. I gotta play a lot of things by ear. There's gonna be a lot of content being made though, so I kind of keep on the loop. If you follow me on Twitter at Megazard_X, I kind of keep all y'all in the good loop in terms of like what I'm kind of expecting though. But everything is gonna be playing off the cuff, and I'll just be going off of the emotional feels, man, the emotional feels. But Steven, go ahead and let the fine people know where they can find you at so I can go ahead and go to sleep so I can hit the gym early in the morning. Whew.
Fair enough. You can find me on Twitter at Steven Jr. 1231, or you can find me on a collab channel I do with some friends at Spaghetti Disco on YouTube.
Alrighty, y'all. And that's going to do it for episode 101. So if you really like this video, make sure you're going to hit that like button. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. And if you're curious and want to support the channel just a little bit more, then feel free to hit that join link down below. But that's really going to do it in terms of this one video for today, though. And if you also happen to be listening to this on one of my audio only platforms, whether that be Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Yes, you can listen to me in the car. Just make sure to go ahead and give a quick little review, 5-star rating, just letting people know that, hey, we're just a couple dudes that like talking about gaming related stuff, pop culture stuff, everything else in between, though. But that's truly going to do it in terms of today's episode, though. So remember, y'all, until our video I make next, until my next ZardCast episode 102, I'll see y'all later.